Order the June 21, 2017 Planning and Zoning meeting. The first item on our agenda is roll call.
Commissioner Height. Commissioner Kohler. Here. Commissioner Pullen.
Here.
Commissioner Shernick.
Here.
Commissioner Goldberg.
Here.
Commissioner Flagg. Here. Commissioner Check.
Okay, next on our agenda is communications from Don Burchett, our principal planner.
Chairman Shernack, members of the commission, you have two items at your dais tonight. The first is a letter to the Planning and Zoning Commission dated June 5th regarding prairie dog policies. This is information and not linked to any project that you're looking at tonight. And then the other is a email with an attachment from Karen Bryant that references the Shadowgrass apartment projects you're hearing tonight, and there's some information in there that I'm sure that if you have questions about that, Karen can answer for you. So,
okay.
And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Next on our agenda. Okay, next on our agenda is the public invited to be heard section of our agenda. This is for items that are not on the agenda tonight. So if anybody would like to come forward and take 5 minutes to talk about anything that's not on tonight's agenda, please do so now. Feel free to just get up. You'll give us your name and address. We'll turn on a green light for you for 4 minutes. You get a yellow light for 1 minute, and then I cut you off when the red light turns on. So last call for public invited to be heard. We will close the public invited to be heard section of our agenda. Next is approval of the minutes from May 17 of 2017. Comments, discussion?
Move to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Okay. Commissioner Poland?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Poland. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody who, okay, Commissioner Check abstains, he was not present. And also Commissioner Flagg and Commissioner Kohler. Okay, so we have four, so it is a quorum to approve, yes. All right, next on our agenda is item 6, Shadowgrass Apartments Preliminary Plat, Preliminary PUD Development Plan, PZR 2017-21, with Senior Planner Karen Bryant. Ms. Bryant, please take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Shernick. Commissioners, Karen Bryant, Planning and Development Services. So the application before you this evening is for Shadowgrass Apartments, and it is for a preliminary plat and preliminary PUD development plan with modifications. The corresponding PZR is 2017-21. The Planning Commission, you are the decision-making body, so staff is asking for the Commission to review and make a decision on the proposed preliminary plat PUD development plan with modifications. The options that the Commission has are to approve the application with conditions, or deny the application. The project is located on the southwest corner of 17th Avenue and County Line. It covers approximately 13 acres. It's adjacent to some property in Weld County, but the project itself is in Boulder County. So the proposal, again, it covers approximately 13 acres. It's for 256 apartment units. That includes 8 apartment buildings, 5 garage buildings, a pool and clubhouse, dog park or dog run, as well as community gardens and other amenities. The zoning for the project is plan unit development mixed use, and the density for the project as proposed is just under 20 dwelling units per acre. The multifamily apartments are an allowed use within this PUD mixed use zoning. Conformance with Envision Longmont, the area in red kind of is the property in question. The land use designation in Envision Longmont is multifamily neighborhood. Apartments are primary use in that land use designation. And the density range that's allowed per Envision Longmont is 18 to 35 dwelling units per acre. As part of the preliminary PUD development plan, the applicant is requesting some modifications that they are allowed to do because this is zoned PUD per section 15 3.03.060E17A. Allows them. The two modifications they are asking for is to relocate landscaping that's required as part of a parking lot median with a walkway. And then there is a Poudre River Power Authority easement and power lines that run along the eastern edge of the property. The Poudre River Power Authority has some restrictions as to what they will allow planted in their easement itself. So they have requested that modification is to relocate and changes to the type of plantings that would normally be in the arterial buffer. The applicant is doing some mitigation, and if the Planning and Zoning Commission would like, I can go over those what that mitigation is. We did per code. We've done the noticing requirements with noticing the neighbors, posting the property, publishing. Staff did receive a significant amount of public response to that notification and public comments. Most of the comments that we received in written form were included. There was one that came after the packet had gone out to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and that's one of the items that was placed at your table. The major concerns were increased traffic and necessary improvements to County Line Road, reduction in property values of the nearby single-family homes due to the development of the apartments, loss of views due to the height of the buildings, and some frustration that the property owners had in that their understanding was that the property would be developed for neighborhood commercial and retail uses, not apartments. Review criteria, the staff and the city staff within the Development Review Committee have reviewed the application. It does meet the review criteria for this type of application. Section 1502.040, which is the common review criteria for all applications. And then it also meets the individual additional review criteria for plats and PUDs. Staff is recommending approval of the preliminary plat, PUD development plan, and modifications with the following conditions. All remaining comments and issues identified by the DRC during the review of both the preliminary plat and PUD development plan and final plat and PUD development plan be addressed prior to approval of the final plat and PUD development plan. 2, the owners of the irrigation ditch that runs through the property approve of the new alignment relocation of the ditch. 3, city approves of the new alignment relocation of the irrigation ditch that runs through the property as it pertains to other infrastructure, including roads and utilities. And condition number 4 is the applicant must install NFPA-13 fire suppression sprinkler system in all of the apartment buildings. And this recommendation is reflected in PZR 2017-21B that was included in your packet. The applicant does have a presentation, but I am happy to answer any questions that the Commission might have at this time.
Thank you very much, Senior Planner Bryant. Any questions for her at this time that would clarify anything that was in her presentation? Seeing none, let's go forward with the applicant's presentation.
Good evening, Commissioner and members of the Commission. My name is Jay Hardy. I'm the president of Brinkman, located in Fort Collins, Colorado, and we certainly appreciate your time tonight in reviewing this project. We're excited about this addition to your community, and we're excited to be a part of the project. Tonight you're going to hear, and we've got different elements of our project team here, including Mickey with the Promontes Group, Chris and Ryan LaPlante, as well as Brian Stahl, who are our partners in the project, Doug with Kephart, Brock with Norris Design, as well as Joanne Higgins, that's here to speak on any issues you might have or questions related to traffic. I thought it would be good to go through just a quick timeline and history of the project and how we got to this place. Really taking a step back almost 2 years ago in the changes to the comp plan that was done and really wanting to address the different opportunities that both the Commission as well as the City Council have had to review this. We had a submittal to the project on May 27th of 2015, followed by a neighborhood meeting that had over 20 different members of the public attend and have provide different comments, much of which were in line with Karen's presentation and some of the concerns that were outlined. So that was in July of 15. In August of 15, the application description was submitted and to this board, and then in February of 2016, again, there was a unanimous vote supporting the comp plan adjustments. And then finally, in March of 2016, the City Council hearing on this topic was presented and then approved unanimously. So given that, this is an allowable use within the area, and we're excited to be a part of this project. I wanted to talk just quickly about the demand, not only in the area, but just as a country, how we live differently and how we occupy different residents differently. Talking at a local level, in the Envision Longmont plan, there's a couple of different things that calls for. One is workforce housing. That can be defined from anything to somebody that's working in a retail environment. It could also be a nurse at the new University of Colorado Health Hospital that has a different income level. That plan identified that over 9,500 units will be necessary in the city of Longmont during that time. When we expand that out a little bit at a national level, by 2030, 4.6 million new apartment homes will need to be built by 2030, of which more than 100,000 of those will need to be within the state of Colorado. So when we look at just the overall demand for the product type, we think that's an important piece to outline. I think everyone here in the room at one point was a renter and has lived in an apartment. I know the first apartment that I lived in was probably not the best apartment I've had, but as things graduate and income levels increase, obviously product type does as well. And one of the concerns, and rightfully so, of the neighborhood has been really about quality. It's been about property values. It's been about what will this project do to the community in terms of increasing, decreasing property values. So the good news in this is that this team that is presenting this project has developed over 1,000 apartment units in northern Colorado over the last 5 or 6 years. And when you're in the project mode of delivering this type of product, obviously there's a lot of safeguards that we take and will continue to take in protecting our investment. First of all, we'll have a special purpose entity that will be identified that will protect the asset in and of itself. This will also be a project that will be a HUD financed project, so there will be basically an incredible amount of audits and stringent elements that will come from that. There is a misnomer out there when you talk about a HUD project. Many people think of that immediately as a low-income project, and I want to clarify that this is a market rate project financed by HUD. Wells Fargo, who will be our financier of this project, obviously has a large vested interest in this project being successful as the bank there, and they'll keep us to the same levels of quality and maintenance that we've done in the 1,000 units I mentioned previously. And then obviously we'll have a professional management team that will be on site on a daily basis, making sure that the project and the team, anything related to behaviors are all within line of the rental agreements that our consumers will sign. One item that I wanted to point out, and I just pulled this stat earlier this week, because I think, again, if I was a property owner immediately adjacent, I'd want to know, give me some examples of property values and things that have happened. And this team developed up at Centera in Loveland, right across from Medical Center of the Rockies. The interesting part is we really like the interaction with hospitals, and we were on this track before we knew UCH was going to build a new hospital. But the irony there is that we developed a 303-unit project within almost the exact proximity. And as of this week, the home sales at a project called the Lakes at Centera, those homes right now are selling on an average of $515,000. And this 303-unit apartment building, which is very similar to what we're proposing, is nestled right in the middle of that community. So I would encourage you to look at that. There's a couple of other examples that show that, you know, we take our asset management very seriously in everything that we do. Two other items I want to touch real quick, and then I'll turn it over to Mickey, is really the economic impact to the Longmont community. When we look at the investment in the asset itself, when we look at the jobs created, when we look at both the construction jobs as well as the on-site permanent jobs, there's about 544 jobs that will be created through the construction process, with a total economic impact to this area of $63.3 million. And those are based on national calculations. That's not Jay's calculations. Those are calculations that are done at a national level. And finally, I just want to touch base on just a couple of items that really are pulled from the Envision Longmont that Karen touched on as a much broader document. On page 25, there is an encouragement to, quote, support higher density housing types such as apartments. On page 88, quote, ensuring the variety of housing options exist that are both attractive and affordable to existing and potential future workers in Longmont. You know, Longmont's very lucky, and I'm certain proud to be opening the University of Colorado Hospital, the Smuckers plant, and have large employers like a Circle Graphics or others. So with my closing comments, I do have a series of folders, Karen, if I could give to you. The manila ones there for each of the members. And these are letters of support from a variety of community members, including residents, the CEO of the largest employer in the city of Longmont, president of a bank here that lives in an adjacent neighborhood, as well as owners of some small businesses that are supportive of this, mostly because of the workforce housing and the continued demand on the housing needs here in the community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mickey, who will go through a little bit more of the technical presentation on the engineering side, and you'll be glad that she's doing the engineering and I'm not, but we appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Ms. Leyba?
Good evening. Mickey Leyba with Permontes Group in Longmont, 625 Main Street. So working on behalf of the client for the civil, some of the site planning and project management of the project here. Here again is just the vicinity map of the location, proximity to 17th there and County Line, the southwest corner. The project is broken up into two parcels. The first parcel, which is approximately 8.93 acres, two parcels. It's split by the future Rustic Drive to the south. We've got 17th to the north, County Line to the east, and then the future proposed Armstrong to the west. Parcel 2, which would be on the south side of the future Rustic improvements, is approximately 3.98 acres. Again there, just separated by Celestial will be on the west side, County Line, and Sunshine. Sunshine is existing currently, and that is to the south here. Again, the existing zoning is a zone PUD mixed use. As Jay stated, in March of 2016, City Council approved the land use amendment to change the property zoning from industrial economic development to the PUD mixed use zoning. The surrounding land uses and zonings, again, to the north is public, which we have the Jim Ham nature area. South is the PUD MU zoning. East, we have the agricultural unincorporated Weld County, which is, again, divided by county line there. And then to the west is the existing or PUD MU. Zoning and development standards. The Proposed number of units is 256 units. We have proposed 8 buildings. The north parcel, as you've seen in the plans, is approximately is 192 units. The south parcel would make up 2 buildings with 2 units. Proposed density is 20 units per acre, with Envision Longmont indicating zoning from 18 to 35 density units per acre. So, parking required for our development is 475 spaces, and we're providing 472. Again, the open space required for the project is 30%, and we are providing an additional 15 to make up 45% for the development. We are also included in the SEO Scenic Entry Overlay District, which requires a 50-foot landscape buffer adjacent to 17th Avenue and County Line. And then additional buffers along the perimeter of all the other roadways is a 20-foot landscape buffer adjacent to the Sunshine, Rustic, Celestial, Willis Way, and Armstrong. So as you can see here, the site is pretty much surrounded by all roadways. Again, we touched base on, just wanted to point out that we're in line with the Envision Longmont with the multifamily apartment proposed for the Envision Longmont there. So just wanted to throw that slide in there. Surrounding properties and proximity to amenities, I think this makes it a great location for what's proposed for the apartments. It's proximity to Union, which is 1.7 miles walking distance to get to Union. Again, Jim Ham nature area is just on the other side of 17th, north side of 17th, so right adjacent to the development, which is a great amenity, and also the proximity to commercial and grocery areas off of Pace out there is approximately 1.2 miles, so definitely makes it a good location for walking distance and biking. So again, just the surrounding properties, 17th Avenue, Jim Ham, which you can see on the aerial indicated in yellow. County Line Road, and there's 4 unincorporated Weld County properties that are adjacent to our property. Just want to point out there's 4. Then we have the Armstrong, Willis, Rustic, Celestial, and Sunshine are all public right-of-ways adjacent to the property. Again, the slide you've seen is just a rendering of the proposed development. You can see there on the right side of the screen is the proposed clubhouse, and back in the background you can see proposed concept of the buildings. Site design, overall, I can see here, kind of gives both parcels, how it's separated by 2 parcels between Rustic, splits the 2. Again, you can kind of see the landscaping, the connectivity with the road, the walkways, biking. We have bicycle parking for each units. Landscape, again, the buffers, you can see towards the bottom of the screen there is County Line, so the large buffer for landscaping is we're actually providing an 80-foot landscape buffer from County Line there. The PRPA easement is also adjacent to County Line there, so there's 30 feet of that easement that is on the property. The remainder is on the County Line side right away. We have trail connectivity for that and multimodal circulation through the site. I don't have a pointer here, but if you look on the north parcel between the top 2 buildings there, if connectivity from, that would be Armstrong all the way down to County Line through the development with a series of sidewalks. We have mail kiosks to get us through, so we comply with that. Kind of broke it up a little bit bigger scale for the north parcel. You can see here some of the side amenities, a dog run, not dog park, but adjacent to County Line to break it up from adjacent properties. We originally thought about putting it to the north, but then since moved it south towards the clubhouse, a dog run there. The main mail kiosk for the entire development is here in the center of the development there that you can see. We have 3 garages, 6 buildings, and the clubhouse there with pool proposed. The south parcel here, you can see 2 buildings and 2 garages we have there. Site amenity, again, don't have a pointer, but if you look to the south between the 2 buildings, there's what we're proposing for site amenity. Could be some fire pit, seating area, grill. You can see the dense landscaping there. I'll get into another slide, but proposing to try to preserve the existing trees out there. I have a slide of it. You can see the trees that are currently existing. So I think it makes it unique that we're trying to work that we've worked that into the development with grading and the landscaping to make it an amenity for this development. I just wanted to throw this in about the site design for the existing easement that's adjacent to county line. So it's an 80-foot easement currently. So it's the Platte River Power Authority. It's for the electrical transmission lines that you see out there at the site. Runs along the property and then heads and goes west. But the eastern 50 feet of the easement is located within the county line right-of-way, and the additional 30 feet is within the property. So, and we're providing an additional feet of landscape buffer between the buildings and county line. Just wanted to touch base on, we do have an irrigation, the rough and ready irrigation lateral that runs currently through the property. It splits it across there. So we're proposing, if you see the purple line that's on the right side of the screen, a dash line, that's an existing irrigation lateral that is currently piped. And it's from there, it currently is an open channel, but we're proposing to realign that in the yellow line that you see there. And it actually currently crosses county line on the purple as you see it towards the left side of the screen. So we have had meetings with the current lateral owners to start those discussions and start moving forward with design. So we've had those discussions. Some additional site amenities. I mentioned about the existing trees. If you look up at the right side, upper right of the screen there, the existing trees that are currently on site, proposing to save those there. And you can see down at the south is kind of a conceptual look of what that amenity area would be and how we try to preserve those trees. The larger ones you see with the circles would be the existing trees, to work it in there with potential fire pit, seating, and a grill area out there for the apartment users. Briefly, just to touch on the architecture again, 8 buildings. They're each 32 units. There's 2 types. Type A, which is buildings, you see on the screen, identified as buildings 3 and 7. And the color scheme, which I'll show in another slide, is propose a brick kind of paver color. Type B, there's 6 of those buildings, which are identified as 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8. And the color scheme there is like a rosemary color. We have the clubhouse with the color scheme of between the balanced beige and aesthetic white. You'll see on the elevations, and we do meet the variation of the code with variation in architecture by different colors and how we're proposing with our architecture with the clubhouse and such. Just a slide here just to kind of show you the colors a little bit more. Sometimes it's a little distorted with the PowerPoint, what it actually looks like, but this is the proposed color schemes. I'm sure you've seen these in the packets and what we proposed, but again, just kind of show some of the elevations of the apartment buildings. For the top one is a type A for the front elevation, and there at the bottom we have type B, the rear elevation. You can see the 2 different color schemes. I just wanted to throw this in with the garage types, 2 color schemes as well for garage type B, front and rear elevations. Right here is the clubhouse with the color schemes we showed in the previous slide, just kind of a front and rear elevation. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Joanne Higgins with Permontes Group, transportation engineer.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Higgins. I'm with Permontes Group, 625 Main Street in Longmont. Just wanted to touch on some of the traffic characteristics for this project. The project is estimated to generate 1,675 total daily trips. That's about 800 in and 800 out in a 24-hour period. That is about 30 to 35% less than the filing 1 and 2 single-family
Ms. Higgins,
homes.
can I interrupt you real fast? I need to talk to the audience. We need your respect and silence for our presenters, please. You may disagree. You will have a chance to speak to us during the public hearing part of this, but please hold all your comments. The acoustics of this room are also where we can hear just about everything you're saying, whispering, et cetera, to each other, so, and it can be very distracting to not only us, but also to our presenters. Ms. Higgins, please continue.
Thank you. To put the 1,675 trips into perspective, the filing 1 and 2, 260 single-family homes, will generate about 2,500 daily trips when they're fully occupied. So the 256 apartment units are going to generate about 30% less traffic than the 260 single-family homes. And the proposed units will also generate about 80% less than the original commercial use that was approved there in the 2004 traffic impact study. I think they had about 250,000 square feet of mixed office and commercial. So it's a significant reduction in traffic on the overall Shadowgrass site, and which will result in a significant reduction in noise. There will be 2 new access connections to the adjacent network, one at Armstrong and 17th, and that's already curbed out, just waiting to be connected. And the other one is at Rustic, and that'll be a limited turn, no left turn out. Armstrong will be a full turn access onto 17th. So that will double the access points to the Shadowgrass development from what's currently there right now. They only have 2 access points to the arterial network. All the access intersections to the arterial network from Shadowgrass are projected to operate at the city's acceptable levels of service during the peak hour periods in the future. Just to give you a comparison of the traffic volumes from what is currently proposed, which is shown in the blue numbers on the top, and what was previously proposed in 2004 with the commercial, much more dense land use on this filing 3. 2 to 3 times more traffic volumes at Armstrong, Rustic, and Sunshine. So it's a significant reduction in traffic. And you'll notice on Moonlight Drive, which is the existing full turn access point on the 17th, those traffic volumes will stay the same. So it's just 1,000 vehicles per day, which means 500 in, 500 out in a peak hour. About 50 vehicles in and out. During the 24-hour period, equates to about 50 vehicles in the highest hour of the day. So it's very reasonable for that access point, and as I mentioned, they're projected to operate efficiently in the future. Now, again, these numbers are for build-out traffic volume, so filing 1, 2, and 3 are all built out as currently planned. There's roadway improvements and connections. So as I mentioned, Armstrong, which will connect up to a full turn access onto County Line Road. Onto 17th. County Line Road will provide access via Rustic and Sunshine. And then there will be also the Moonlight connection, which exists, but we aren't anticipating any traffic from the apartments to use that because they'll have a new access at Armstrong. Thank you.
Just to go a little bit more regarding the traffic and improvements, as part of our development, the Armstrong, either filing 6 of Eastgate or Armstrong, we would construct the Armstrong improvement. So it will be built with our development, or if the filing 6 goes first, that would be built. So it needs to be in place for everything to function. It will be built with one of the 2 developments. So in regard to the county line improvements, the city might want to cover that a little bit more, but those improvements would be proposed or being completed by the city, and we'd be tying into that. So When we began the project, we had our neighborhood meeting, and there were, as Karen indicated, some of the same. We just wanted to show that again, what the concerns were with what we got feedback from the neighborhood meeting, and as well as letters and emails that we had talking about some of the height restrictions, which the proposed apartments fall within the allowable height restriction, concerned with the property zoning, and the zoning is in place at the time of our development, so we are complying with the zoning. There was concern with lower property value. I think Jay talked a bit on that. Impact on surrounding environment. I believe with Joanne's impact on traffic indicated we're below with what was originally proposed for this development. Irrigation ditch, there was a concern that we wouldn't be dealing with that, but we have started those discussions. We have a proposed alignment to work with that, and are in the works of working with the two irrigation lateral owners. Increased in crime and public nuisance. I believe Jay also talked a bit on that. Increased density and noise. I believe the apartments, again, is with the noise is less than what was proposed as far as traffic as well. And then I want to touch a little bit on the criteria, the review criteria that we followed. Our proposed development is consistent with the comprehensive plan as amended. It conforms with any previously approved concept plans, preliminary plat or PUD plan for the area here. It complies with the applicable design standards and construction specifications, as we're not requesting any variances with our development. It's consistent with the intent and purpose of the zoning, with existing zoning, and complying with that, as well as in line with Envision Longmont. Just again continued. Our development will not significantly adversely affect the surrounding properties. I think we're actually helping reduce the amount of traffic which was originally proposed. High quality of the apartments, amenities that are there, I think enhances this area. It's a great area for proximity to amenities for the apartments, as well as proximity to Union and trails. Let's see. Proposed apartment, Saddlegrass will not limit the ability to integrate the surrounding land into the city and cause variances or exceptions. I think we've demonstrated that. Will not create lots that are undevelopable or burdened with costs that would preclude development from occurring on the property. And we're proposing one phase with the development, but proposed phasing plan for development of the PUD is rational terms of the available infrastructure. There's infrastructure there to serve the property, existing sanitary water that we'd be tying into storm sewer master plan drainage study, and we're complying with that. The PUD complies with the development design standards as stated in section 1503060. The PUD development will not limit the ability to integrate, again, the surrounding land to the city. It's just kind of reiteration of the previous slide under this development section. Karen briefly mentioned about the modification. So we have no variances requested. There are two modifications that we're requesting with the development. One is to the relocation of the required landscaping as part of the parking lot median with a walkway per section 1505040 there. But in an attempt to mitigate that and working with the city to come up with a solution, we are placing the required landscaping for the landscaping islands along the perimeter of the site to help buffer the development from the existing single-family residence. Here, I just wanted to show, so you have a better understanding what that modification request is. The circled area in the red, you can see the walkway between the two parking spots is proposing to have that one 8-foot walkway. The second minor modification request is the relocation of changes to the type of plantings in the arterial buffer. Talked about the current easement along county line and the restrictions of what type of trees and plantings could go in there. So in an attempt to mitigate that, we're planting ornamental trees within the easement as allowed by the PRPA. We're providing an additional 50-foot landscape buffer between county line and the proposed apartment buildings. And we're placing the required landscaping that cannot be planted, so taking those and putting them around the perimeter to again buffer the surrounding single-family residences. I just kind of tried to blow up some slides here. As you can see, that's adjacent to county line and the large buffer between there with landscaping that we're allowed to plant in those in that area there. Again, another slide here to show the additional trees and landscaping that's buffering the adjacent properties to the west along Armstrong. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Leyva. I do have some clarifying questions for you and your team. What is, I know it's not your property, but the parcel that is opposite of you on Starlight, what type of use is going in there? Starlight, it's a southwest corner of your property.
Let's see here. Let me get to, let's see.
There you go.
There we go.
At the top of the picture there.
So just to the south? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
well, that whole parcel, how is that being developed by its owner? Do you know at this time?
No, just south of Sunshine.
No. To the west of Starlight. So to the top of your drawing, because your drawing has north
Yes.
to the right.
There's currently, it's development there with residential,
Okay.
single family.
Okay, it's single family? Okay, all right. And just to verify with Mr. Hardy, where'd he go? You do plan to hold, own, and manage this property for the long term? You're good to go now.
Yes. If you look at the history of what we've done, typically we build, develop, and then hold those properties long-term.
Okay, all right, thank you. And, one other question, it might be for Mr. Hardy, possibly Ms. Leyva. You have parcel 3 at the very south, which is not part of this proposal. One of your criteria that you need to meet is to not leave something undevelopable. It is an oddly shaped parcel. It's not very big. What sort of plans do you have in terms of development and any sort of, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you sure that you can develop it?
I'll let Mr. Hardy speak on that, but as far as a planning and laying out and what could fit on there, it is developable, and it is with the purchase of their development, but it's not being developed at this time.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. We have the 3 parcels will be part of the land acquisition. The third parcel, when we did our market and demand study, we felt best about this size in an effort to, if you look at the density that is allowed between 18 and 35, we wanted to keep that density lower. We wanted to be able to provide the community larger open space. So we felt that we could do the 256 here and then do a future development there. We've done a density analysis there that ranges somewhere between 20 and 28 units that we could develop on that site. We've also done a very small retail evaluation of what could be a small retail use there, kind of a neighborhood use there, and that's still out to the jury. We haven't decided what we're going to do, but
Sure.
It is developable. It has some restrictions with the power lines in it that are a little bit different than parcel 1 and 2.
Okay, all right, thank you for that explanation. Any other clarifying questions for the presenters? Commissioner Height?
I do. Mr. Hardy, if you could come back, I have a couple questions for you, too. Concerning, you touched upon what you could do with parcel 3, looking at maybe a possible neighborhood retail. Did you look at other housing mixes? Did you look at other commercial or retail opportunities for this particular property? As I understand, some of your future neighbors' concerns are that they were anticipated that there was going to be some commercial use there. Could you explain possibly on the record what your analysis showed you in looking at those opportunities?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you'd want to go through and identify what the market need is. With, significant grocery stores and everything else that is within 1.5 miles, there's not a large retail demand there. Thus, the property hasn't developed over the last 10 or 12 years in a retail environment. So when we did look at the commercial, it was, smaller, could be depending on the demand. And frankly, with Smucker's, the location of that, the hospital, smaller things like coffee shops, those things could be in that use. We also did a demand evaluation of a for-sale townhome product in that location. And then we also did a two-building scenario that had two 12-unit buildings in it with kind of a tuck-under garage, a two-story building there. There'd be about 20 to 24 units there. So there are some restrictions there with the power line. But we're not at a point tonight when we're going to make a commitment to what that is, but the three we've evaluated is small neighborhood retail, for sale condo, or probably a townhome because of the construction defect laws, and then the third piece would be an expansion of some kind of a for-rent product.
Sorry, maybe I wasn't clear. I understand that you've done that evaluations for
Okay.
Lot 3, but for lots 1 and 2
Oh,
for
I
this
see.
apartment complex, in lieu of doing apartments, did you do other market analyses for those properties?
No, we didn't. We saw this as a great apartment site.
Commissioner Pullen.
Mr. Hardy, real quickly, what is the timeline that you're looking at for this?
So we plan to take everything through our entitlement process. We plan to close on or around the 1st of November and break ground shortly thereafter of this year.
Okay. And then I guess this is a combo question for maybe you and Karen. In the one email that we received today, there was a note in here. The applicant has been aware that without these improvements, which are the improvements on County Line Road, being completed, they may not be able to receive building permits for the project. So I guess I see that 2018 is what is being budgeted for the County Line Road. So can you, either one of you two, help me with a timeline for how this is all going to work out about you building and then with the work being done on County Line?
Want me to go first? So how we expect that there's all those buildings, what we would expect to have happen is start construction in the middle of November. It'll be a 12-month process, and the initial delivery of the project will be the clubhouse and at least 2 or 3 buildings. And then on a monthly basis, we'll deliver 1 more building as it begins to absorb. So the total project, the first delivery is 12 months. The last delivery will be about 18 months from the start. And then I'll let Karen speak to the road improvements that should align fairly closely to that time frame.
Through you, Chairman Chernick, Commissioner Pullen, I apologize. The email should have been that they wouldn't receive certificate of occupancy until the improvements were done, not building permits. It would be certificate of occupancy. And I also want to mention that I did request the presence of some other staff members from Public Safety and Public Works and Traffic, and I'm going to ask one of them to come up and answer the questions about the timing and what's going to be happening with County Line Road. There's 3 of you. Why don't you come up?
Good evening. Tyler Stamey, Public Works Civil Engineer. So right now for County Line Road, we're currently working on design of the improvements on there. At this point in time, we don't have a construction start date by any means. We're still in the design phase.
Any anticipated start dates? A rough timeline?
I don't have that information at this point.
Okay.
Hi there, Claudia Vaughn, Public Works Engineer as well. As you know, as you said, the 2018 budget is the improvements to County Line Road are a part of that plan. That has to go to the City Council for approval. Pending that approval, the city has plans to go to construction in 2018 and complete construction in 2018.
Thank you. Karen, question for you. Question was brought up earlier to the applicant about this particular parcel. and if there had been any studies done for retail and stuff. I know that there is a history dating back when this was first annexed back in '88, I believe, and it's gone through a couple of changes. Can you just real quickly go through that, because I think that might also help out with that question as to looking into potential retail for the site?
Through you, Chairman Shernick, Commissioner Pollan. So this particular parcel is part of the original Hewlett-Packard annexation back in 1980s. And it was originally major industrial. It was meant to be industrial. Hewlett-Packard decided not to build here. So at that point, what happened was the property underwent a concept plan and rezoning in 2001. And at that point, these two parcels, along with the adjacent Eastgate and Shadowgrass, are the same subdivision. It changed names halfway through. So it included that portion of it, and that happened in 2001. And so the property was rezoned to PUD and mixed use. In the original 2001 rezoning, they laid out uses for all of the parcels within the Eastgate Shadowgrass development, including these two parcels. And the vision and hope was that it would be some kind of mixed-use commercial retail. But I included in your packet, and I can bring it up on the screen for the public to see if you would like, that there are a lot of uses that could have gone on both of these parcels for commercial retail. Broadcasting studios, construction offices, medical dental offices, daycare center, library, convention center, conference center, hotel, motel, fast food restaurants, parking lots, private health clubs. So there's a list of probably 30 or 40 different commercial retail uses that could have gone on the property in 2001, including apartments. The apartments, however, had to be associated with a mixed-use development. So commercial, office, retail of some sort on the bottom floor, and then residences above it. In 2009, the parcels underwent a second, smaller amendment that changed a couple of the uses, added some uses, the main one being to allow for some live-work properties on the site. Then in 2015, 2016, it went through the latest concept plan PUD rezoning, where the zoning stayed the same, but again, they added some additional uses. And one of those uses was standalone apartments. But it also allowed some of the other uses that came in 2016 were doggy daycares, gym and fitness facilities, warehouse and storage facilities, assisted living and memory care. And so I included the thing, and I can bring it up if you would like. So it was rezoned to the PUD mixed use in 2001. Since then, we've had two separate amendments that have changed and modified the uses. During the time, from the time it was originally zoned in 2001 up through now, until this application, I was unable to find any formal application for either of these properties of any sort. There may have been some inquiries, there may have been some other, but no formal applications.
So it's safe to say that a developer owned the land, they just could not have any, there wasn't any interest from what you can tell for that before then. Another quick question then. Going back to the 2001 and even the 2009 amendment changes, what were the height restrictions that go along with when it was made a PUD mixed use? It always allowed three-story buildings, so the 40 feet. Okay, thank you.
Any other clarifying questions at this time?
And that's the matrix, just,
Okay, yeah, do you mind just scrolling through that slowly for us?
sure. So the first column is everything that was allowed in 2001. The 2009 amendment did change the motor vehicle sales and rentals to limit the number to 20, and so it was removed in 2009, 2016. And then so this is really, I think, where we get to where the changes came in. The last row is 2016.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bryant. Further questions? No? Okay, we're going to move to the public hearing part of our meeting on this. So we have a list that people have signed up on in order to come forward and speak. Like I mentioned earlier, you'll get a green light for 4 minutes, a yellow light for 1 minute, and then I'll kindly cut you off when the red light comes on. When you come forward, please state your name and address for the record, and we'd love to hear from you. And we'll start with our list, and then we'll open it up to anybody else who would like to come forward, even if you didn't sign up. First person on the list is Susan Sock.
Good evening. It's Susan Sock, 1441 Rustic Drive. My main concern for this whole development is the traffic. It is pretty crazy over there right now with County Line. There's a lot of traffic on County Line. I know it'll be 4 lanes sometime in the future. Hopefully it has to be the near future with the hospital coming. That would be chaotic with ambulances and everything, trying to manipulate these 2 lanes right now. It's pretty scary. Then you drop in 500 more cars in the apartment complex. And, you took the video down, but in the upper left-hand corner, it is my understanding that Cal Atlantic owns that property, and they're planning on building 42 more homes there. That's what we've been told when we were buying the property. So you add in 42 more homes, and I wish some of you people would come out and just sit there for a day or so and just see all the traffic now. Then you come off of Moonlight onto 17th, and you're taking your life in your hands. Because there's a curve coming around, and during the peak travel time, the people coming off of County Line coming into Longmont and the people coming out of Longmont on 17th, it's just horrendous. So you sit there and it's like, okay, do I go now? You look right, you look left, you look left. You know, it's really frightening. I noticed that there is a camera on one of the light poles, and I don't know if it's to monitor the traffic there or not, but it's on the north side of 17th, and it's like, I don't know, a block after you turn on to left onto 17th. I don't know what it's for, but there is a camera there. But really, the traffic is now chaotic, and it will be horrendous when you add all of those vehicles into that. I hope you can take that into consideration and do whatever needs to be done by the city or the county to take care of that. And also, I'm wondering about parking. How do you not let people like park on Celestial? Because then you're going to that would be on the west side of the apartment complexes. And so that's going to narrow that street if you have cars parked along there. And I just moved out of an apartment because we were building our home and we sold our old house. So it got to the point where all the parking spaces were full when you were coming home from work and you ended up parking in the street. So I know that that does happen. So it would be wonderful if we could limit parking on Celestial and Rustic and all the neighborhood streets. But my concern is there's going to be an awful lot of cars in, is it 13 acres? I don't know what but there's going to be a lot of vehicles. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sock. Next is Richard Quigley.
Yes, Richard Quigley, 2005 Sundance Drive. I had one question and a few recommendations. The question has already been addressed, and that is that third parcel to the south, roughly 3 acres or whatever it is, what was it going to be used for? And that obviously got covered. But I have a few recommendations for your consideration. Convert that third parcel to a community park, not future development. My second recommendation on building height would be to restrict building height to a maximum of 2 stories or 30 feet. I have a third recommendation. It gets back to the lady's discussion here, the traffic on 17th. What is guaranteed to be the case is that you will have a lot of people coming from this development that want to get over to the Jim Ham Pond. And that is going to be a very big nightmare. I mean, I ride a bike a lot and I run a lot, but getting across from the south to Jim Ham Pond will be very, very unsafe. I would recommend that you require this development to put in a tunnel from this development underneath 17th over to Jim Ham, because that's guaranteed to be a high traffic volume, an attractive area for people to walk. I have a fourth recommendation in regarding traffic lights. What's guaranteed to be a disaster, especially, is the intersection of County Line Road and 17th. That can already be a problem. I mean, we've lived in Sundance for 12 years now, and the traffic on County Line Road has gone up tremendously, and it's getting kind of dangerous. So putting a traffic light in at that 17th and County Line Road would, from my point of view, be a very smart move. Do it before people get killed. That was all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Quigley. Next is Tyler, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your names, Cherveny?
Very good. Cerveny.
Cerveny, okay. Looks Ukrainian.
Check.
Check. Okay.
Tyler Cerveny, 1844 Nadine Lane. Thanks for having me. I apologize for my attire. This is important. I drove 45 minutes coaching football camp. I'm going to drive back tonight. I'm a new build. I closed December 13th in Shadowgrass Park. And I think we're moving too quickly. My reasoning is there was a whole bunch of us who were told this was commercial. I don't know if that came from the city, the builder, where there's miscommunication, but you're talking about people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to provide their dream home for their families. So I went in, myself personally and others, we paid lot premiums to have lake views to the east, mountain views to the west. So now you're talking another amount of money we're spending for our dream home, but the concerning part is, you know, this gentleman here and his group are talking about the analysis and they got communities. Well, we were lost. There's a whole bunch of us didn't get notices about any meetings because we're in that closing stage and there's no way to access us. And we're the ones that are most impacted. The neighborhood's changing. It's getting younger. I have 3 children. I bought it because it's a T, it's a dead end, there's green space all around me, and there's not 500 more cars. It's important that you guys look at the big picture and not go too quickly, because the people most impacted weren't informed at all. And when I got notice as an apartment, I was furious, as along with many neighbors. We've had these discussions. So with that, you think about the kids in our neighborhood are riding their bikes. We sit in our driveways. We can sit there, relax, they're safe. There's not a lot of through traffic. Think about that as parents. 1,000 cars, like she said. They talk about their preparation, their planning. I mean, you heard it. They asked, well, what about County Line Road? I can't answer that. What are we going to do with that land? I don't know. I just think it's very rushed. People weren't informed properly, and I think that needs to be taken into consideration. And I'm going to end with this. I looked up PUD zoning, and there's a word, it needs to be exceptional design in there. I see nothing exceptional. I see apartment buildings. I see concrete. I see undeveloped acres. Exceptional to me is looking at the lake for the money I spent, my neighbors spent, mountains to the west, and allowing our children to have that freedom to have safe running of the neighborhood, per se. So that's where I am. I appreciate the time, and I'm going to sneak out. I have to get back to football camp, but thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cervini. Next on the list is John Fosnaugh.
Chairman Chernak?
Oh, yes.
Sure. The prior speaker just brought up the notice of the issue of notices. He said he did not receive any notices.
Yes.
So that triggers a section in the code.
Okay.
It's section 1502.020J9. And I'll just read it there.
Okay.
If the adequacy of notice is questioned at a hearing on the application, the review or decision-making body shall make a formal finding regarding whether there was substantial compliance with the notice requirements of this development code before proceeding with the hearing.
Okay.
So I think at this point, you need to do that.
Right. Thank you very much. This is our city attorney, Jeff Friedland, advising us here. Mr. Fosnaugh, we do need to take care of this, so if you don't mind just taking a seat just for a sec while we work through this, I'll call you back up once you're ready. So, Principal Planner Burchett and or Senior Planner Bryant, what I heard Mr. Cervini say was that he understood that he did not get noticed because he is still in his closing process on his house, so he is technically not the owner yet. So we only, correct me if I'm wrong, but we only notify those who are owners. And so if somebody is currently closing, the notice would have gone to the developer that they're buying from, correct?
Chairman Chernak, members of the commission, that's correct. But again, because a question of notice was brought up, we would need to ask Karen to go through the information that she has regarding the notices that were provided, okay, and for you to determine whether or not substantial compliance with the code was met for this hearing.
Okay, all right. Senior Planner Bryant, could you walk us through the noticing process, please?
Chairman Chernak. Okay. So, sorry, I'm going to need to refer to my book here. Okay, so notice requirements are laid out in section 1502.020J of the Longmont Land Development Code. This particular application, once we received the formal application, needed to have two separate notices go out. Both of those notices needed to go to all property owners within 1,000 feet. Because notification requirements, notification came up at the neighborhood meeting that the applicant held, it was suggested to the applicant instead of creating the lists themselves from the Boulder County and Weld County assessors' websites, that they ask the assessor, the clerk and recorder and assessor's office to make those lists for them. And that is what the applicant has done on the Boulder County side. On the Weld County side, Weld County was not willing to do that. So in addition to the property mailings, they also needed to post the property with signage and provide the city with a map of showing where the notice occurred, as well as a list of the property owners, and a certification saying that they did do the mailing and that they did do the property posting. This happened 2 separate times. When we first received the formal application, in January, when the original notice of application went out, the applicant did this. And then they did all of that a second time for the notice of public hearing. And in addition, for the notice of public hearing, in addition to notifying the property owners and notifying and posting the property, we do also have to post it in the newspaper. And I'm going to go ahead and give this to Jane. I pulled this from the file. This is the notification and the certification. So it includes the affidavits as well as the maps and the property lists for Boulder County and Weld County. In addition to the property owners, we are also required to send notice to the homeowners association. And so they also received notice in addition to the individual property owners. So based on the code requirements and the notification of the property owners and the paperwork that staff has received, and the notice did occur. The property owners were notified. As the last gentleman said, if he was in closing, it got sent to property owners. I did receive a call from somebody earlier today, and when I looked at the list, while they owned it, the notice, because of when the list was made, the transition, it did go to Ryland Homes, not them. I would also mention that there is sometimes a lag time at Boulder County, and it just depends on their workload on when they get the paperwork for a property owner's name to change and when it actually gets entered into the system. That's part of the reason why staff recommended and the applicant had the counties, if possible, make the list to help alleviate that.
I do have a question for you. Is it standard operating procedure within development services that you would not bring an item in front of us if you believed, not felt, if you thought that there was not proper notice having occurred?
Chairman Chernak, members of the commission, Don Burchett. The item, the scenario that you bring up for us would be a fatal flaw. In other words, if we identified that there was an issue with any notice, then we would either have to have the item pulled from your agenda, or we would have to reschedule and renotice to meet all the code requirements. Occasionally, that does happen. We are all human and things are missed. But whenever a question is ever raised, we double check to make sure that we have met the requirements. Otherwise, we send out notices to let people know that there was an error, and then we redo the notices for any meetings that are needed. And that's not only for this meeting, but any of our other required meetings, even neighborhood meetings, which I must say I have actually had happen to where we had a flaw in the notice itself that said the meeting occurred on a Thursday when the date that was listed said it was a Wednesday, and so we had to attend both days, tell people to come back if they would like to in 2 more weeks, and had to redo the notice. So it does happen, but once we find that out, we are obligated to make sure that we notify people and let them know that so that we can correct that issue.
Okay. Commissioner Poland.
Karen, real quickly, did I hear you say that that this was Ryland Homes, correct? The builder?
Ryland Homes, it was just in that individual instance. I received a call earlier today asking about the notice, why they didn't receive it.
Okay, so I guess my question is for the people who were in the process of purchasing but hadn't purchased it yet, or even before that, I guess what I'm hearing from the people, some of the newer owners especially, is the fact that they were unaware that there was going to be apartments there, and I'm wondering, was the builder aware that that had been changed or that there was a plan for apartments? So as part of the notice, was the builder aware that, I mean, I'm sure that there were signs around, but is there a notice sent to the builder saying, we have this going on next to you and there's been a change?
The builder, as the property owner, would have received the notice that let them know that this application was occurring.
Chairman Chernak, Commissioner Poland, so our notices describe what the application is that's being submitted. So they would have known that this was for a multifamily development project, and it would have given the most up-to-date information we had at that time. Sometimes through our review process, the number of buildings may change or the number of units could change, but we give them the most accurate information we have at the time. We revise that notice before it goes out for the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing so that it represents exactly what the request is that is going to be heard before the commission. So if they need to, planning, if they need approval for a preliminary development plan and a preliminary plat, then those items are listed. It describes the number of units and things like that. We provide a description in there as best we can.
Commissioner Height.
Karen or Don, when I look at 1502 for a preliminary plat, there's a 1,000-foot notice by letter. There's a posting that's required, and with respect to this meeting, there has to be a newspaper publication. That applies for the neighborhood meeting, the application becoming under review, and then this public hearing. Are you satisfied that that happened here from the planning department's perspective?
Based on the information that Karen's presented tonight, I feel that the notice was adequate. It met the requirements, but ultimately that's for the Planning and Zoning Commission to determine.
With respect to all three of those conditions, the neighborhood meeting, the application becoming under review, and this hearing.
Yes.
Commissioner Flegg.
I noticed that on some of these there's some of the names are highlighted. What is that in reference to?
Through you, Chairman Chernak, Commissioner Flagg, those highlighted ones are, hold on one second, can I look at those? I think I know what they are, but I want to make sure before I answer. Those were the ones that were highlighted because those were the ones that were different from if the applicant had pulled them versus what Weld County versus the county pulling them on Boulder County. So if I go to Boulder County Assessor website and pull it up, I was getting a homeowner. I was getting a different owner than Boulder County had on record. So that's what those highlighted are, is the difference between if the applicant had pulled them themselves.
Pulled the addresses.
Pulled the addresses themselves, or if the county themselves did it.
And so the highlighted ones represent?
Who should have got the notice and who did receive the notice, because they were the person who actually owned the property, but the county hadn't notified it over yet.
So that if they are highlighted, then you have ascertained that those people did receive a notice. Thank you.
And Planner Bryant, one more reminder for me. As Commissioner Height pointed out, notice went out for neighborhood meeting, and then upon the application, notice was sent. What was the date of that? The date of the actual application?
The actual date of the application was, I think it was December 23rd was the date it actually was submitted in. The notice went out on January 9th of 2017 for the notice of application.
Okay.
I don't remember the date of notice for the neighborhood meeting. And then the notice for this meeting went out in at least 14 days before.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Goldberg.
Thanks, Ms. Bryant. It seems safe to say that the city of Longmont behaved in a classic way, that they would notify the neighbors in as best a way as possible, following all normal protocols. However, unfortunately, not just Mr. Cervene, but other folks and other projects that come before us on occasion, because of where they're at in the process, may not get that direct letter, and the city does its best with other avenues of information to make sure everyone gets the message. Is that true?
Through you, Chairman Shernick, Commissioner Goldberg. Yes, that's part of the reason that we require the posting of the property and the publication in the newspaper, is to make sure that if somebody is in somewhere in the process and isn't listed as the owner, they don't get the notice. There are other ways that they can receive the notice. That's also why we send notice to the homeowners associations as well.
Okay. And you alluded to someone else leaving a message or a phone call or emailing you about them being unaware of the meetings. So we have Mr. Cervene, and you had one other. Was there many other comments about not knowing?
Yes, but I wouldn't be able to give you a number. It is something I've heard more than just those two instances.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, discussion? Attorney Freeland, I assume we need to do this formally with the motion and vote.
That's correct. The
Okay.
code requires a formal finding, so I recommend you do that by a
Okay.
motion. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, Commissioner Pullen.
Well, I would like to make a motion, then. I'll take a swing at this. Based on the evidence presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission tonight, we find that there is proper notification was made to the homeowners on record.
Okay, we have a motion. Discussion or a second? Commissioner Flake.
I will second that motion.
Motion has been seconded. Any further discussion?
I'll add in that,
Microphone.
I will add that the anecdotal evidence that possibly somebody didn't get a notice because they were in the middle of closing on their property and they weren't the owner of record is an unfortunate circumstance, but I have not seen any evidence that that notice was not properly given here.
Okay, shall we take a vote? Let's take a vote. And that passes 7-0, unanimous that proper notice was given for this application. We'll move forward with, Attorney Freeland, did you have anything else? No? Okay, you're satisfied? Okay, all right. Always got to make the attorneys happy, right? So we'll move forward with the public hearing. We're still in that section of our agenda. And Mr. Fosna, thank you for your patience. Please come back up and let us hear what you have to say. Turn on your microphone. There's a button there. There you go.
Okay. We are brand new to the area. We came here in January of this year. This was a place to be recommended by my wife's family members that it's a great place to live, as opposed to where we lived in Castle Rock, which I beg to differ now. I would rather go back to Castle Rock at this point. When I see this sign, "You belong in Longmont," I'm about ready to throw up. In the past few months, I've attended the Ryder Open Space meeting on the south side of us, fighting that issue, which I guess I don't know if that's a done deal or not. But now I'm on this issue. We purchased this house back in January 18, 2016. We closed on December 19th and moved in December 27th, prior to any of your announcements of this project. We did not get any wind of this project from anyone. We don't read newspapers. No one reads newspapers anymore. The thing is, we talked to the builder many times, what's going in that space? What's that parcel going to be used for? And we had 3 sales counselors throughout that year. We come and visited the house every month to see the progress. And they all said, it's commercial, it's commercial. That's all we know. So I'm not saying that real estate people are liars and they don't tell exactly the truth, but we had nothing else to go on but what they were telling us. The city never contacted us once. The only reason we found out about this project was through the HOA. 2 months ago, we had a meeting. And it's past tense now. So we've never heard of this zoning change from commercial to mixed use or whatever it's going to be called. The other concern I have is I drive to Denver every day. I take County Line off Sunshine, and it is harder than heck to get out on that road as it is now. It takes me full speed, and I almost swerve into cars getting into that right lane because it's a single-lane road and there's no median, no merging lane to get onto the road. That would solve a lot of things. But anyway, you can't make a left there. You got to go past, when I come home, you got to go past down to 17th, which makes no sense. But anyway, if somebody did a traffic study, you would find out between 7 and 8 o'clock you can't even get on County Line Road. I've got some comment to make to this gentleman over here about occupancy. My niece worked for Centera in Loveland, and they have 4 huge complexes of apartments, and they're having trouble selling apartments and houses there because of the overbuild. I don't know how you're going to sell all these apartments. So she left that place because nothing was selling. What else? And I'm hearing also that all the builders are having trouble finding subcontractors. So I don't see how he's going to complete this in 1 year. I really don't see that happening. So I think parking is an issue on that road that's adjacent to where I live. I'm only about 1,000 feet from that property. We're going to lose all of our views of that lake and the trees. And none of that was proposed to us when we bought the house. It was never mentioned. So, other than a commercial use down the road. So I think you passing this resolution that it was properly posted to everybody, it's totally untruth. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Fosno. Okay. Next on the list, Scott Chesney.
Can kind of see it, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Yeah. Well, good evening, Commissioners, Chairman. My name's Scott Chassie, 1413 Rustic Drive. I'll just start by talking about the notice. I closed February 9th. I didn't receive any notice. I work from home and I walk all around on all the walking paths every day. I've never seen anything posted, so I don't know where it could possibly be posted. I found about this from my neighbors because they had found out about it from going to an HOA meeting that I was out of town that I couldn't attend. So I do have, pretty grave concerns about that. Tyler, who was here, said he hadn't gotten it. He closed in the beginning of January before the dates. I just looked it up on Boulder County Deeds on my phone. It was January 9th is when he closed, which was before she said that the first notice went out, let alone the second notice of this hearing. So again, at his word, he didn't receive them, and I'm telling you that I haven't received notice at all. So the next thing, my primary concern is, again, the traffic. And one of the things that I wanted to point out there is that we've got 17th and Rustic and Sunshine all within about 1,000 feet going out on a County Line Road, which is just going to, be a major headache getting out, making those left-hand turns, those right-hand turns, how people are going to navigate, getting in a turning lane as you expand. I'm not sure what the vision is there, but just, I've seen that type of thing before where there's such dense turns in and out of a development, and that in and of itself can be very problematic coming onto such a busy street like County Line Road. And as my neighbor also mentioned, the nature of the bend on 17 as you approach Moonlight is really problematic. And there's 2 lanes and a turning lane there coming in, and it's a 45 mile per hour that sometimes people don't stick within, but even at 45 miles per hour, it can be very difficult to get in or out. So I'm concerned with the increase of density there, how that's going to be addressed. Overall, again, to Tyler's point, I think that taking a step back and really looking at the nature of the change of the traffic patterns, and I think the other thing you have to take into consideration is that those numbers that were quoted about traffic, I don't know how much that study they factored in demographics, but currently Shadowgrass was originally set up as a retirement home, or a community rather, and so there's mostly people who are in retirement age in their 60s and 70s who are there, and as we all know, his first apartment wasn't the best, but it sounded like he's lived in some others as he went up. People who are younger in demographics, that's the way that apartments tend to skew. Those people tend to be more social and have a lot more people coming in, coming to visit, coming, going, working multiple jobs as they're trying to climb that economic ladder. So I'm really concerned about all the increase in density, and again, there's only 500 spaces for 260 apartments. It seems like that's per code, but that is very concerning with how that's going to spill out for parking onto the rest of the neighborhood streets. And overall, this development as planned or as proposed would fundamentally change the character of the neighborhood, because again, it's very quiet right now. It's mostly retirees. It's very bucolic and rural. I was sold lake views. We paid a premium for those views. I was told that the smaller 4-acre parcel to the south was going to be left as a buffer, and that what was going in was small commercial up in the corner on County Line. And so that, again, that was sold as an amenity, that you would have doggy daycare, child care, professional offices, gyms, health spas. These things are all amenities that people want to have within walking distance, which would increase property values. So moving into this type of density residential, I'm relatively concerned with what that's going to do to the property values that we all paid a premium for. Let's see. And then again, just the seeming mismatch between the proposed dates for when this is going to start and when the county line would be available, because with the egress currently, the amount of construction traffic that will be going on, again, right now it's difficult enough to get in and out of that neighborhood, and I'm really concerned with all of the heavy equipment that will be coming in, all of the cranes for this 3-story, all of the paving equipment that's going to have to come in to put down that much macadam, the painting, et cetera, that for months, if those 2 projects aren't in alignment properly, that we could just have a mess, let alone the traffic that will build up along County Line for all the people that need to get in and out from 17th and County Line. So it's not just this neighborhood that's having an impact, it's all of the people in the northeast quadrant of Longmont who are going to be trying to navigate this area. So again, my recommendation, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to hear all of our comments, is to slow down and really look especially at the impacts of the traffic, because the numbers that were put out there, I don't think those really factored into the current nature of that neighborhood and what those traffic patterns actually are versus the shifting demographics for people who tend to skew younger. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chesney. Next on the list, Leslie Anderson. Is she still here? Leslie Anderson? She's left? Okay. Next would be Ryan Will.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Commission. Thank you for your time. Ryan Will, 2708 County Fair Lane. I just wanted to read a letter on behalf of a resident Bruce Robbins, who lives in nearby Ute Creek. To whom it may concern, I am writing to the Longmont Planning Commission to support the proposed multifamily project in the Shadowgrass neighborhood at 17th Avenue and County Line Road. I believe a high-density residential project is the highest and best use of the parcel for the following reasons. There is a general shortage of high-quality, newer apartment housing in the city of Longmont. Such projects will generally keep housing more affordable in our area. With King Soopers, Safeway, and Walmart all within a reasonable distance of the development, The basic retail goods and services needed to support such a development are already in place. With the pending hospital and Smuckers projects, there will be an increased need in the immediate area for apartment housing. I feel it is important to promote an environment where future workers will have convenient, affordable housing to both live and work in the city. Development of the corner is inevitable, and we must consider the impact any alternative would have for the Jim Ham nature area and the surrounding residences. I recall previous use approvals for the corner have involved a gas station and a convenience store circa 2009, which I opposed. Considering Longmont is already saturated with retail, and an alternative use as such would have a much more significant increase in traffic, loitering, and garbage, I believe the current multifamily proposal is a much better use in meeting the long-term needs of this community. The ownership team has a history and successful track record in the Northern Colorado area. Their intentions are to own and operate the project for the long term. For the aforementioned reasons, I respectfully request the Planning Commission support the Shadowgrass development. Sincerely, Bruce Robbins, 1952, Chadwick Court, Longmont. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Will. This is our only public hearing part of our meeting, and so if anybody else is in the audience who would like to come forward and speak, now's your time. So, yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Jill Jennings. I'm at 1421 Rustic Drive. I just wanted to second the, gosh, I can't even speak, information that Mr. Cervini provided about having it notice. We signed on our house December 22nd of 2016, and closed in November 15th of 2016. We got zero notice. Just as the Fosnaws did, we came and visited our house from Brighton every 2 or 3 weeks just to check on the progress. There was nothing ever posted, and there was nothing in the neighborhood as far as where Rustic Drive and Nadine Lane are right now. There was nothing there at the time. So it was a very small area where there could have been something posted, and we never saw anything. The builder never let us know that there was anything like that going to happen. We were again told it was commercial. We were also sold it on the fact that we would have our views. We paid a high lot premium for where we're located, for the green space in front of us on Rustic and behind us, and to have the mountain and lake views. We live on Rustic, so our front yard is right on Rustic. We have a small daughter, and all of our neighbors, we have lots of little kids around us. Having Rustic be an open thoroughfare through the neighborhood scares me to death, because there are so many little children that live on that street, and we picked that intentionally because of the way it was located. Had we known that there was going to be a huge apartment complex, not only blocking the views, but potentially endangering our kids when they're out trying to play, things might have been a little bit different. So that's just, it's kind of frustrating on our end, because I feel like we were lost. We fell through the cracks between the builder and the people proposing the project with regards to notice, because notice may have gone out, but we didn't get it because we hadn't officially been the property owners at that point in time. There has to be something put in place where people that are in limbo right there would have a way to get proper notice. And so that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. James. I saw other hands. Yes, sir?
Hi there. Thank you for the time. Tom Ludlow, 1523 Otis Drive. I'm a father of a young child, and we live very close to 17th and Moonlight, and I think other people have conveyed it tonight. It's a nightmare trying to turn left and head west down 17th Ave. You have to go, as we move away from our neighborhood, there's a turn lane into our neighborhood, 2 lanes of through traffic, then a left turn into Sundance neighborhood, and then you're finally into the lane where you belong. There has to be a light put in there. There's people going 50, 60 plus miles an hour out there pretty consistently. I've also noticed the presence of police out there. I bet they're making a killing because people just come flying around that corner. And as a father, we use the trail to go under the Ute Creek drainage just across 17th to go over to the Jim Ham Park. And proposing another tunnel closer to Jim Ham Park sounds like a great idea to me. And my parents live in the Sundance neighborhood, so we're crossing constantly in our cars. And to make it all the way across, you're praying for a miracle every time you pull out there. The trail system for the neighborhood was something that really attracted us. And I'm concerned that not only the traffic on the trail system will go up, but the dog traffic, all the issues that come along with that, the dog park. There's already issues with dog poop down there, and that's just going to get worse. There's also the issue of more traffic at the Stephen Day Park, the splash pad, the play set, the barbecues, the skate park, all those things. And then I'm also worried about overcrowding at those schools. If we start having more families moving in with multiple children, it's possibly going to overcrowd that school system. And, I already see them with some mobile buildings out there. So there's also been some discussion between our HOA and this proposed apartment complex about some sort of combination HOA where we'll get to use the pool possibly, and I haven't heard any talk of that tonight, and I definitely would like to know where that sort of thing stands, but as this relationship seems like it's going to progress. And then the last thing that I'll leave you with is we've experienced some construction traffic out there lately on County Line. I commute up and down County Line every single day. And the construction traffic for the hospital, for the Ryder Well site, all of that currently is stacking traffic up a mile back. And people aren't even able to go. And then you have these people coming flying down 17th, and there's stopped cars. So there's already traffic problems out there, and those are just going to get worse. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ludlow. Anybody else who'd like to come forward? Come on down.
Howdy. Dan McFetridge, 1796 Celestial Lane. Hi, Karen. How you doing? So all this talk of not being informed, the gentleman is talking about his application was May 27, 2015. We closed on our home September of 2015, and the way we found out was basically in the paper. So if we wouldn't have seen that, we wouldn't have known about this application or this proposal. Karen gave you a list. I'd like to know if we're on that list. Linda Palm and Dan McFetridge. Just a question, if you got time to look for it. And some of my questions are, what exactly is the plan for Longmont, just like the gentleman stated before? To me, it looks like major congestion, no quality of life, lower home values. You gave one example, really nothing on paper. Don't know what your values are, what you're talking about as far as his development up north. How did it increase values? How did it decrease values? I spoke to a realtor that basically came into my home and said, she specifically stated apartments are not going to help in any way our home values and get out ASAP. We paid a premium for our property, not only for the lot, but for the home. It sounds like Ryland is obviously not liable for anything. They seem to be unaware of this proposed development, but they were. A lot of us were misinformed. So that alone with the construction issues, the traffic issues. We live just off of Sunshine on Celestial Lane in the court. We have mountain views. A lot of these folks are talking about their water views being taken away. Don't know why these have to be 3-story buildings. They don't look like they're anything special to me. They're basically, we're going to pull out and look at these buildings as soon as we leave our homes. We should have been given a choice. A lot of people, I'm sure behind me, feel that way, and we were misinformed. I'm sure that you guys are going to ask a premium for your water views and mountain views. They're taking away some of our views. I can guarantee it. Yes? No? No answer. So that's what we all have a problem with. Quality of our life is going to change. Same with the Ryder Wells situation. Hopefully that doesn't go through. We have more of a say in that, but a lot of our concerns are the same. Why do the buildings have to be so tall? Why do they have to make more access points? It doesn't make sense. The traffic is already very heavy and congested and dangerous. So that's about all I got.
Thank you, Mr. McFetchard. Is there anybody else who'd like to come forward? Yes, sir.
George Angelopoulos, 1287 Armstrong Drive. I think what hasn't been brought up by anyone tonight, which is another thorn in this situation, is the Ryder Well property. So you're going to add, if the city council does pass and that property goes through, you've got hundreds of more apartments going in just to the south of Shadowgrass Park. And with all due respect to the builder, when you think about what's going on in Longmont right now with apartment complexes, you've got an apartment complex being built at Mountain View and Pace. You've got an apartment complex being built just south of 119 on County Line. You've got this proposed apartment complex going on. You've got the other apartment complex that's just east of the Lowe's Shopping Plaza on 119. There's apartment complexes popping up all over Longmont. So from a density standpoint, traffic standpoint, and again, for someone who has lived in Shadowgrass Park for the last 3 years and in Longmont within a mile radius of Pace and 17th, go try and shop at King Soopers nowadays, and sometimes you can't even find a shopping cart. So the density in the area itself is just getting tremendous, and we're just adding to it. So I would just ask that you consider, as you make your decision, of all of these factors that are going on around the area and its impact on what everyone has said previously, and I hope you will consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Angelopoulos. Anybody else who'd like to come forward? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Sally Fosnot, 1841 Nadine Lane. I just have a little concern here about, you're saying everyone was notified. You think it was properly done. We didn't even get notified for this meeting. I spoke to Karen today, and she said letters went out, and I spoke to everyone on my block, and no one got that form or the letter. And as far as being notified, if she said in January we were supposed to be notified of 2016, you said it went out or something? Okay, we didn't receive anything like that. So I'm the one that started the petition, and I went around all of Shadowgrass, and I spoke to many people, and many people did not get notification, and they were happy to sign that petition that I put out there. And so it's just disheartening to to buy a place you think is very quiet, low traffic and whatnot, and then you're going to add like another 500 or 1,000 cars, you said, back and forth or whatever. And it is very dangerous on that road, that County Line Road. So I'm sure a lot of people back here, they can raise their hands who did not get notified. They'd be happy to show hands of who did not get notified for the this meeting and also with the apartment building. So that's all I have to say, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fosna. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Chuck Cooper, 1451 Ajax Way. My question is specifically around traffic. And Karen, we've had some discussions on the new Armstrong exit onto 17th. In prior discussions, my understanding is that that would not be a full left out and right out, left in, right in. And tonight it was presented by the developer as being full turn access. So I'd like to get clarification on the record that what was presented tonight is in fact the plan. Is that the case?
We will, Mr. Hoover, we will investigate that once we get back to our discussion.
All right. I think the reason, let me just go a little further. The reason that's very important is if that is not true on a left out, it leaves Moonlight as the only left out for the whole development, including all the new apartments onto 17th. And you've heard lots of comments about what the left out onto 17th is about. So it would just terribly complicate it. The second comment is on the County Line Road. One of the folks that got up to speak was talking about the fact that when County Line gets improved, it'll at least be 2 lanes in both directions. And I think, again, some of our early discussions have been that it will not be 2 lanes in both directions. It'll be 1 lane in both directions with some additional turn lane at Sunshine. And I think since our friends from the traffic area couldn't explain any of the specifics about the county line because it's still in planning, I'd strongly recommend that they add to their planning, enhancing it as they have south of 9th. Because if you're going to add all this extra traffic and you're looking ahead for the next 20, 30, 40 years, not the next 6 months, it needs to be lanes in both directions with left turn access out onto that road going forward. So those are my 2 comments.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Anyone else would like to come forward?
Can I say one more thing?
Sorry, but we only have people come up once. Is there anybody else who'd like to come forward who has not yet spoken? Sir? And then we'll go to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Dick Newjar, 1433 Moonlight Drive. Karen, did I understand it correctly that you said occupancy permits would not be granted based on design of County Line Road? Did I understand that?
Mr. Newhart, pose it as a question to me, and then we will look into this as we get back to our discussion.
Will occupancy permits be granted regardless of what happens to County Line Road?
Okay. Okay. Anything else you'd like to point out to us?
Oh, yes. There can be many children in that new apartment complex, I assume. I did not see, except for your pool, any recreation for the children in that complex. Is that correct?
So again,
I would like to.
We'll look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Newhart. Ma'am?
My name is Allie Bickler, 1307 Jade Lane. To start off with, I'm a current student at CU Boulder, and just first off, housing is extremely expensive in Boulder. It's outrageous, and there's no room in Boulder. It's already as tight, compact as it can be, and I don't, especially as college graduates are, coming out of college, they need places to live, and I know someone mentioned earlier that there's, many supposedly apartment buildings coming up around Longmont, but Colorado is one of the fastest growing states, and there's going to be housing needed for people who are going out of college who are eventually going to want to buy a home one day. And considering this apartment complex, people say it's not exceptional. I don't know. Exceptional is kind of an eye of the beholder, but this is a nice apartment complex. I mean, you got a clubhouse, you have a dog run. You don't have a dog park necessarily where dogs are going to be running around everywhere pooping. And this isn't going to be attracting people who can't afford to live in these apartments. And another thing that's interesting is property values. As far as that goes, as Karen mentioned earlier, or I'm not sorry, Karen, he mentioned earlier, gas stations, convenience stores, all the other possibilities that could go in there. I don't know if I'd want homeless people standing outside, as you go into your neighborhood or anything else. So I think, first off, I don't really think these apartment complexes, in my opinion, are going to lower the property values because there's such a high demand of housing. And if a gas station were to go in there or something way worse, that could just, I feel like that would ultimately lower the property value if that were the case. And ultimately, I know what it's like. Growing up, my family used to live before King Soopers, Target, any of that on the south side of Longmont. They were rural. They thought they were zoned ag. And, people started building all around our house. And I know what it's like. But in the end, growth is inevitable. And you pose the risk when you have open space next to you of what's going to be there. And that's just how it is. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bigler. Anybody else who'd like to come forward? Okay. So we've been at this for 2 hours. We're going to take a biology break for about 7 to 10 minutes. Okay? I noticed that I forgot to say one important thing as we started to take our break. I forgot to officially say that the public hearing section of the meeting was now closed. Because I forgot to say that, I'd be willing to give anybody who did not get a chance to speak to still come forward and make their comments. Yes, ma'am, come on down. We'll, because I didn't officially close the public hearing.
Hi, is this on?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. My name's Tracy Frazee. I live at 1820 Celestial Lane. And I wanted to talk about the reason we all moved out to Shadowgrass. Obviously, Colorado's a beautiful state. It's kind of a rural area. It's a lot more quiet. There's lake views, there's mountain views. That's why we all moved there. We all paid premiums for our land. It's our hard-earned money that's going to these homes, that's going back into Longmont. And we're all sympathetic that Longmont is constantly changing and people are coming in to the city, but there's apartments going up like crazy. And again, I know everyone's been, bringing this up, but the traffic is a huge concern for all of us. You have multiple apartment buildings with up to 300 plus units, all going kind of in the four corners of Northeast Longmont. And all those cars are going to come down in the area. And where County Road meets 17th, at least where we are, we're kind of in the southern section. Where Sunshine comes in, you can turn right onto County Road, but you can't make a left-hand turn. And I know that these developers are going to make another road. I believe it's Rustic, that they're going to create another turn to turn right onto County Road. And stay with me, this might get a little confused. I hope I'm explaining myself well. When you come down County Road line, you're not supposed to turn left onto Sunshine. And you're supposed to come all the way down County Road, make a left on 17th, and come in over on Moonlight. Well, the traffic is so bad because that's what everyone is doing. To come into Shadowgrass, they go down, they make a left on this Moonlight. Well, for residents, if there isn't any traffic coming down south on County Road, and it's safe to do so, we all make left-hand turns on Sunshine because we live there, it's close to our homes, it's easier. And I just can imagine if we're all doing it and you add more units to the area and you add another turn to do it, more people are going to be whipping it left. And I'm just perceiving more car accidents and a lot more traffic. And I know that we're all talking about this, but this is just a huge concern and a safety issue. And God forbid there's more car accidents. But, I mean, you're turning in that area and you're driving, and sometimes, I mean, you really fear for your life that you're going to get walloped with the car coming down south. And we just want to express our views to you guys, and we really appreciate you doing this all for us. We're just residents like you guys, and we just want to protect the area that we're in and keep it the way that, we purchased it, and that's what we wanted. So thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much. Last chance. Anybody else? Okay, now I will officially close the public hearing section of the meeting, and we will go to discussion and questions. Commissioner Flagg.
Thank you. I guess I want to talk to Karen first. Now, what kind of building height would the existing zoning allow? What possible building heights could go on that parcel?
Through you, Chairman Shernick, Commissioner Flagg, I believe it's 40, but you've all asked me that so much that I'm just going to verify really quick.
The reason why I'm asking is because last year, I think it was, we had a discussion on possible developments on that corner and that side of that area next to County Line Road. And I recall, and I can't tell you exactly who it was, said, well, they could build a 9-10 floor building there. They would have to They would have to not have streets. They'd have to figure out how to make sure that the setbacks worked. So did that change?
I'm not sure where the 9-10 stories that you're asking about came from, but in my research for this project and in reviewing it, it's 40 feet is what would be allowed.
Okay. And then I wonder if either Phil or Tyler could talk about signalized intersections for a moment. So you and I have had these discussions before, I'm sure. But I wondered, what would it take what kind of a warranting process would it take to have an intersectional, signalized intersection there at 17th and Pace? What would it take to do that in terms of warrants? Thank you. County Line Road and 17th. What would it take?
Commissioner Flagg, so we have several intersections throughout town that we review annually that are somewhat, you may be getting close to meeting warrants. For installing signals, we follow manual and uniform traffic control devices. There are minimum volume thresholds that have to be met before we can install a signal. There are some other factors to be considered, but this is one that doesn't currently meet warrants and is not anticipated to meet warrants at opening day with these apartments, but it's one that we do see in maybe the next 3 to 5 years as a potential need for a signal here.
And what kind of traffic management has been discussed for Sunshine and future Rustic Drive along County Line Road?
Commissioner Flagg, so part of, as I was speaking earlier, I don't know dates for when County Line construction might begin, but I do know that County Line Road improvements will include northbound left turn lanes at both of those accesses at Sunshine and at Rustic. So that was one of the concerns you hear here tonight, was that Sunshine's currently right in, right out, and people are making left turns there anyway. So it is something that the city is, we believe needs to be addressed. So we are intending to take care of that as part of this project.
And it's my understanding from what I've heard this evening that there will be a center left turn lane created on County Line Road that would allow people to pause there before turning left into those streets.
Commissioner Flagg, that's what I was just describing, yes.
Okay. And in terms of fire access, did the fire department have any input in terms of when some of this happens, or street access from either 17th or County Line Road?
I will defer to fire department for that, but I think, as Karen mentioned earlier, that I believe the COs are tied to these improvements being in, so that no one could live in these units or occupy these units until the improvements are complete.
What the improvements for fire?
County Line Road, the left turn lanes.
Okay.
Hi, Commissioner Flagg, Assistant Fire Marshal Mark Sampson. Could you repeat your question? For the development?
For the streets, for Sunshine and Rustic, and for general access into the apartment complex there, what kinds of requirements did fire have for traffic?
Okay, well, the public streets meet all of our access requirements. It's once you get internal to the complex that we are having issues.
Which means that they have to have enough driveways to get in and out?
Well, that's one of the conditional use of approvals for the NFPA 13 sprinkler system. So for the access requirements on the northern lot, we require half the diagonal of the overall dimension of the lot, and so the 2 access points on that do not meet that requirement. Thus, we are asking for the NFPA 13 sprinkler system for the apartment buildings to offset that separation distance. And then the new one down there on the other one, the access requirements on the east side of the buildings are the ones that are causing us issues about that, and being able to reach all points of the building within 150 feet from where we park inside internally within the access. But as far as Rustic, Sunshine, and all those public streets, all of those conditions have been met for fire department access.
And I just want a clarification. So they will meet them as they are presently configured. I know that only Sunshine is presently configured with a right-in, right-out.
Correct.
And that will meet the fire requirements with it like that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Commissioner Goldberg.
Hi, Karen. Karen, how can we? Who's liable? Who's responsible if we grant approval for a project to move on, but for some reason the 2018 city budget does not allow for the improvement to County Line Road 1 that affords the project to finish and will help the livelihood of these neighbors, kind of help them receive what we're telling them they're going to receive.
Through you, Commissioner Shernick. Commissioner Goldberg, just to clarify, so you're asking what happens if the applicant goes through the entitlement process, builds, and then the improvements along County Line aren't built, and they don't get COs. Right now, all of the discussions with the applicant have been that the city will build the improvements on County Line, and that we will not issue certificate of occupancies towards the building, for the buildings unless those improvements are in place, and that they're basically kind of developing at their own risk if they're going to develop before the improvements are in there. So I don't know liable if it would be the city or if it would be, who it would be liable for. It's just that the city has repeatedly told the applicant that they cannot have certificate of occupancies without County Line being built. The applicant has been in discussions with the city about maybe doing a portion of the development, a portion of the improvements themselves, if it's not approved as part of the CIP in 2018, but I'm not sure where those discussions are or what's going on with that. I'm not sure if that answers your question. I hope it does.
It does. I just, we have all sorts of weird things happen in our town. We don't have to look too far back to think about a flood and other major issues that have impacted our city that might put the brakes on a road development and then leave others kind of high and dry. Maybe what I'd like to do next is just ask Tyler to come on up, and maybe we can geek out on traffic for a few minutes. Hi, Tyler.
Evening.
Tyler, everyone here in this room is upset about the amount of traffic that this apartment complex is going to create. Some of the evidence presented to us suggests that if a commercial project were to move in, as is currently allowed, the amount of traffic would be far greater than what these apartment complexes are going to create or what might create. Can you perhaps just shed some light to the room on kind of traffic habits and traffic trends as it relates to commercial businesses? We've heard several of them listed before us today versus an apartment complex and kind of traffic patterns that go around those.
Sure. Commissioner Goldberg, so as you noted, obviously it's greenfield right now, so anything is going to generate additional traffic over what's there now. I believe, as the applicant stated in their traffic study, that it was around 10,000 daily trips anticipated if it was developed as commercial. And you think about commercial, you're drawing not just from a local neighborhood, but you may have people coming from other neighborhoods and to use those services. So I think typically that's why those are higher trip rates than you see for residential uses. And I think the number for apartments is around six and a half, a little more than 6.5 per unit is kind of the average rate per apartment unit. So with the number of units that they're proposing, it would generate less traffic than as a retail, commercial type development.
Now, the applicant hired this traffic study, is that correct? This was not a traffic study performed by the city?
That is correct.
Are you able to, with your experience, are you able to review that traffic study, and does the city, you or the city say, yep, this seems in line with traffic study research, or, I don't know, this is sketchy and we shouldn't go by this?
Commissioner Goldberg, their study met all of the requirements and our standards.
Would you mind speaking to some of the traffic patterns that stem from mail and other services and other folks that kind of come in and out of the neighborhood, how an apartment complex's traffic patterns might compare to the rest of the single-family homes in the neighborhood?
Commissioner Goldberg, as I mentioned earlier, a single apartment unit generates on average about 6.5 trips a day. Single-family units around 10, it's a little under 10, like 9.8 or something like that. Part of that is services to say, potentially an apartment complex would have one landscaping company come in, take care of all their maintenance, where individual homeowners may each have their own landscaper to come in, and that would generate part of the reason why single-family homes generate more trips. Other similar services like that are part of the difference, and typically you have more people living in single-family homes than you do in apartments, potentially.
It was discussed today that improving and increasing the amount of access points in and out of the neighborhood will alleviate that traffic throughout the neighborhood. I think we were talking about developing, well, we've heard the names a couple times. I wonder if you could just shed some light on the impact of having 2 developed access points added where there are only 2 now, so in a sense doubling that. How should that impact the neighborhood and the neighbors who are living in that area?
Commissioner Goldberg, if you look at the access locations and where the project is, there's really not a benefit to cutting through the existing neighborhood, say Moonlight Drive, to get to the apartments. The new access on 17th, you would go right through, right east of Moonlight, take a right-hand turn into the new access onto 17th, and not even drive through or impact any of the existing neighborhood by taking that route. Additionally, that access to 17th Avenue is going to be a full movement access, so it will allow left turns, northbound left turns there to head back towards town, and would also provide another opportunity for the existing residents to have another option as opposed to 17th and Moonlight.
Okay. Thank you, Tyler. I think the points that I'm trying to get at suggest that although it may seem a bit counterintuitive that, a 3-story tall apartment complex with 500 parking spots is going to be less impactful than the doggy daycare we've heard, or the gas station on the corner. But in the end, historically, the research suggests that the net impact on the neighborhood is less from an apartment complex than that of a sizable commercial development. And it seems like there's also been steps taken to increase the quality of the traffic patterns around the area with increased access, left turn, turning in from northbound county line, and a couple other improvements we've heard today. Does that seem in line with what you have experienced?
Yes.
Thank you.
Tyler, don't go away. I'm going to jump in and follow up with some other questions. When you were talking about the full turn access that will be new off of 17th, you're talking about Armstrong, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that answered Mr. Cooper's question. So that will be a full turn access. And just so I'm clear, County Line Road will stay 1 lane northbound, 1 lane southbound, but with a center lane for turns. Do I have that right?
So, Chair Shernick, that's as of yet to be fully determined. It's in the design phases right now, as I mentioned.
Okay.
At a minimum, we would anticipate that left turn lane be added. Depending on pricing and cost estimates, it could be the ultimate 4-lane section, which is shown in our roadway plan as a long-term need.
Okay. Mr. Chastney brought up the question about the distance between 17th, Rustic, and Sunshine. Now, those are existing streets, and do you have any issue with the distance between those? Is there any plan for any sort of mitigation, like decel lanes, acceleration lanes, et cetera?
Chair Shernick, the existing access points on 17th, I believe, met our arterial access spacing, which is 660 feet.
Okay.
Turn lanes for Armstrong, the new access, I believe are already in. There's a westbound left turn lane, I believe. I don't know if you can pull up a map. I believe there's an eastbound right turn lane, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
So the auxiliary lanes are there for those.
Okay. Why is the camera on the light pole at 17th?
Good question. My best guess, and maybe Claudia knows the answer, is I believe it might be a roadway weather station.
It's a weather station?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. And then parking in neighborhoods. Now, this may not be your purview, but we'll start. Any city street, anybody can park on a city street. There are no restrictions, correct?
True. There are, you have to move within, I believe, 72 hours, but other than that, anyone can park on city streets.
Okay. And as far as you know, with this project, doing the traffic engineering, there are no plans to do any restrictions on any of the streets that are near this proposed project, such as parking only on one side or something like that, because there was a concern voiced about the narrowing of streets if parking occurs because of visitors parking on the street.
Chair Shernick, I'd have to double check some of the Eastgate filings that are already in, but they set some of the precedents on those, the roadway widths, and I know there are some sections of road where parking may be restricted on one side or the other.
Okay, so they may already be designated to be restricted. Is that what you're saying?
They may be, but I'd have to double check.
Okay, all right. But of course, we would make all those streets just comply with city code.
Yes.
In that regard. Okay, all right. And has the city had any consideration, and maybe Phil can jump in because this gets into multimodal, about a underpass at 17th and County Line to get to Jim Ham Nature Park? Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. Phil Greenwald, Transportation Planner with the city's Planning and Development Services Department. Chair Shernick, we have not looked at that location. We specifically have, when we start to look at the underpass issues around the city, you look in that area and you see a lot of underpasses in that area. It's not on 17th necessarily, but we do have the one at U Creek that was mentioned earlier, which is very close to this location. So we also have one down on County Line that's going to be built at where Spring Gulch crosses underneath, and we have some to the west of here as well. So when you start to look at that multimodal transportation map in the Envision Longmont plan, you'll see that there's, compared to the rest of the town, this portion of town does have a pretty good mix of underpasses that serve and go underneath these arterial roads. We're not asking at this time that underpass be provided by the applicant, as we have one just a few blocks to the west.
Okay. From your perspective,
the other piece I might just add, sorry, when the traffic signal does go in at County Line and 17th, which it will eventually, at some point it will be warranted, whether that's 3 or 5 years from now, but that will provide also a safer crossing for folks who use what we call that side path that's going to be built in conjunction with some of the other arterial street improvements for County Line. So we'll also have that as a safer crossing point, we feel, and that's why, again, we wouldn't put an underpass that close to a signalized intersection. If you, it's just not, it doesn't make a lot of sense because people much rather cross at grade if they can.
Right.
So.
Okay. Got it. I think you helped me with the thank you. Okay, I will cede the floor to Commissioner Poland.
Karen, we have had a kind of a mix of opinions on the status of apartments and the need for dwellings in the city of Longmont. The applicant, I believe, stated, if I remember right, something about 9,000 or so needed by a certain date or something. We had a couple people from the audience indicate that they were for this just mainly because there's a need for apartment space in the city of Longmont. Most of the people in this area feel that looking at the various apartments that are going up in the city, that the city doesn't need anymore. So I'm just wondering, I know about 2 years ago, the city did a presentation to us, and at that time expressed a dire need for apartments in the city. So I'm just wondering if there's an update from the city as how we're doing with apartments.
Through you, Chairman Chernick, Commissioner Poland, what I'm pulling up right now is a map that the city that city planning staff has put together that shows all of the currently built apartments as well as approved and under construction and under review. That's what I'm kind of pulling up. Not quite there yet. So we are still, even with everything that's being currently under review and is being built within the city of Longmont, we're still about at least 5,000 apartment units short of what the housing study said that the city of Longmont was lacking.
Okay. Perfect. That answered my question. Thank you.
This kind of shows how they're spread throughout the community.
Who's next? Oh, Commissioner Haight.
Yes, Karen. Thank you very much. With respect to the modifications that were requested in this PUD, preliminary PUD, there was a relocation of some landscaping with respect to a sidewalk that bisected the middle of the parking structure, and there was a change in the type of landscaping needed to go under this high power line along County Line Road 1. 15360E17A requires that there be some type of adequate compensating design or modification standards to approve a modification. In your review of the plan, what design modifications or compensating design or mitigation measures has the applicant included in its plan?
Okay. Well, there are two separate modifications. One is for the Poudre River Power Authority, and so what they're doing is that one is being driven by the easement itself, and so what they are doing is they are planting the ornamental trees within the easement as opposed to the larger canopy trees, and they're clumping them together at the request of PRPA. In addition to that, they are providing additional landscaping, so additional trees, both evergreen and deciduous within the site as well. And then they are giving us additional open space. In fact, they're giving us half again what the open space is for this project. So this project requires by code 30%, they're giving us 50%. So they're giving us the required landscaping plus some additional, and any of the landscaping that cannot go within the landscape buffer where it should go is being placed elsewhere around the perimeter to help buffer from the single family homes that are surrounding. The other modification is for the relocation through the parking lot. And normally there would be a landscape median where the walkway is. However, for safe pedestrian movement throughout the site, staff has requested that instead of the landscaping island be placed there, they give us the walkway. Since that's really kind of more of a staff-driven modification, really they're not giving us mitigation above and beyond. They are planning the landscaping that should go within that landscaping island. Again, they're giving it to the city. They're just putting it around, again, the perimeter to help buffer from the single-family units. And then again, going back to that, kind of to mitigate both of them, is that half, again, open space.
The open space counts kind of, the open space kind of counts twice in that regard?
Correct.
Okay, and then I also noticed that they had provided additional parking over and above what their requirements were. That's not being counted as additional compensation for these other changes?
Staff had not included it in the mitigation because it was separate from landscaping, since the modifications were landscaping. But again, that is another thing where they go above and beyond within the PUD. So that could be used as mitigation as well.
And then additionally, I also noted that the buffer zone along 17th and County Line Road 1, as their arterials, I think it's only a 50-foot buffer, and they're providing an 80-foot buffer, I think, along County Line, and maybe only the 50 along 17th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Are those additional mitigating circumstances, or are those additional conditions that you're calling, or you would qualify as mitigating circumstances?
They would qualify as mitigation. The additional parking, the wider buffer along County Line from 80 to 50. Staff wasn't, while it could be considered a mitigation, because part of the reason they were giving us that was because of the PRPA easement and to be able to plant the landscaping the additional landscaping that they were provided, they needed it. So it could be, it's definitely mitigation for the modifications.
The primary things that you would consider would be the additional open space and the fact that they're overplanting in different areas. Thank you.
Commissioner Kohler.
Kind of along these lines, I have another traffic question, but we can go to it next. One of the members from the community brought up the question of the recreation areas in the site. Is there a requirement for the pocket parks or things like that in these types of development?
Through you, Chairman Schoeneck, Commissioner Kohler, yes, there are requirements in our code for open space and pocket parks and those amenities, and they have met those requirements.
So I'm having trouble seeing it, I guess. Is the open space essentially just the buffer between the apartments and the roads? That's
yes, the open space is most of the green areas when we look on the plan. And then they have, I'm going to actually, because I know they have several different amenities, and I'm going to actually ask the applicant to come up and talk about the amenities that are counting towards open space. But the pool and clubhouse do count towards those, but I'm going to ask them to come up and kind of go through those details.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chris LaPlante. I'm with the development team. The amenities that we have on site.
I'm going to go list my house now. Goodbye.
The amenities that we have on site, a few of them were mentioned, but I'll run through the list. We've got an outdoor swimming pool with a large sun deck, barbecue areas on that swimming pool and deck area. There's outdoor gaming area for the residents to take advantage of, seating areas in that fenced-in pool area. We've got a hot tub, picnic and barbecue pavilions, exterior gas fire pits. There's some exterior passive spaces with some benches and some power and Wi-Fi for the residents to sit and enjoy those spaces and work. A lot of folks might be working from home and telecommuting. We've got a car care hose bib and a vacuum for the residents to wash their vehicles. We've got some fitness stations throughout the property. that the residents can take advantage of. I think a question came up earlier, is there a children's play area? And there is a children's play area and tot lot. We do have a fenced dog park. We have an enclosed pet wash station, and we have an enclosed bike and ski shop for the residents to work on their skis and bikes, and then other green spaces scattered throughout the property. So,
you mentioned the fences. One of the comments from the public was about a barbed wire fence somewhere in one of the plans. I didn't see that.
There is no barbed wire fence on the
Okay.
property.
Will there be any exterior fences between the lot and the roads, the public roads?
No exterior fencing, other than the pool area is fenced, and that's a requirement by code, and then the dog park will be a fenced area.
Okay. And then I have one traffic question, probably for Tyler.
Thank you.
Do we know what the current counts are for traffic right now? I know we've seen what the counts would be if they developed this commercial compared to the apartments, but can we see what it would be compared to what it is now?
Commissioner Kohler, I don't have the report in front of me, but that is information we can provide to you.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was it.
I'm going to jump in with some more questions. Okay. So, sorry. I got to take my turn, right? They have the traffic numbers. Okay.
Which ones do you want? Sorry, Commissioner.
All of them.
It's probably easier if I hand this to you to take a look at.
That'd be fine if you want to pass it around.
Then read them off to you.
Commissioner Kohler, do you mind if I proceed with other questions while we take a look at this? Okay, all right. Senior Planner Bryant, there was a concern about schools getting overcrowded, but there was a document in our packet. Did I take your question? There was a document in our packet that was provided by the school district. Could you walk us through that and explain why the school district basically is refuting that point and saying that schools will not be overcrowded?
Yes, Chairman Shernick. So as part of all single-family residential developments, whether it's a single-family, multifamily, we send a notice of referral to the St. Vrain Valley School District to have them respond. And one of the things they're looking at, they have figures and numbers, and they have a whole math system that is way beyond me to determine whether or not that particular development is what the impact is going to be on the schools, and whether or not the school can handle the additional students that development would warrant. And so the district did review it for available school capacity and required land dedications or cash in lieu fees and transportation considerations. And they, in the referral response we got, the St. Vrain Valley School District finds that there's adequate capacity to accommodate this project in existing facilities. For every apartment, part of the building permit fees, the impact fees, the school did determine that each apartment would be charged $714. That would go to the school district for impact fees. But St. Vrain Valley School District did review this project and do find that there are adequate facilities.
Okay, thank you. I think I have a question for probably Mr. Hardy or somebody on the applicant's team. We have Officer Arnie from the Longmont Police sitting in the back, who runs a great program that, I'm sorry? Oh, no, it's not? Who are you? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you made me think about her. All right. Oh, you're with fire. Okay, never mind. But you made me think about her. Okay, and we have this great program through the Longmont Police Department where the Officer Arnie, who's not here tonight, that that she runs this, and it is where she works with, I forget the name of it, so anybody chime in. I'm sorry?
Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design.
Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. Okay, that's the program. I'm wondering if... Crime Free, yes. So are you aware of it? Are you planning on participating in it? Tell me your thoughts.
My initial thoughts are, certainly sounds like something we should do. I don't know if are we engaged in it? Lots of people shaking their heads, so yes, we are.
Okay, great. All right. So just my understanding of it is that the police come and work with you as the property owner and work with your residents and make sure that everybody's on the same page about what is good, responsible living, and it brings crime rates down or keeps them from going up. Planner Bryant.
Chairman Chernick, just so the commission is aware of it, Officer Aaron has, I think I pronounced that name correctly, has reviewed this project and given comments, and I know has at least spoken to the consultant, I believe, about her comments and concerns.
Okay, great. That's great to know. The other question I had for you, Mr. Hardy, is there was a concern about, and apparently some discussions already begun, about how the HOA would work with the apartment and with Shadowgrass, with all the houses around. What are the plans in terms of HOAs getting along?
Yeah, so we've actually had multiple dialogues with the HOA in an effort to make sure that we're a positive piece to the homeowners association. So we've worked through different funding mechanisms to ensure that we're, paying our way through that. One question that came up was access specifically to the pool and some of the amenities. Our pool and amenity package is sized for our project, so that's not going to be there's not going to be an external opportunity to be a part of that. It's not just about the sizing of that, because that would be a much larger program, but it also is a liability issue within our lender of having people that are outside of the leased area accessing the pool.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Planner Bryant, one more question about how this works, because it's in one of your suggested conditions about the ditch. Now, in the applicant's presentation, they mentioned that they've already started some discussions with the ditch owner. But if I remember the wording of the condition that you proposed, it's that change of the ditch has to be approved before this would go forward. Do I have that right?
Chairman Chernick, you do, but I'm going to actually ask Claudia with Public Works. She's a little more familiar with the ditch and with that movement.
Okay, but basically, all of this is a moot point if the ditch owner says, no, ditch is staying where it is.
Yes. The city is a part owner of the ditch company.
Okay.
So I think we wanted to word it that way so that both the ditch company and the entity that it actually works to convey water, but also for maintenance purposes and just accessibility for city staff to go and actually maintain it would still be beneficial and a good fit for both the city as the ditch owner and as like an entity that's going to be maintaining it.
Okay, but you said the city's not the sole owner. There is another owner involved, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so all parties have to come to agreement.
Right. And we've had meetings with everyone involved to take a look at potential realignments. We haven't come up with a finalized design, but the ditch owner is aware of it and seems to be amenable to the change, pending that it actually functions.
And since the city is part owner of the ditch, how does moving the ditch benefit the city?
I don't believe that moving the ditch necessarily benefits the city. The main purpose of the ditch is to convey water, and if it's still meeting that purpose, I think the city is willing to look at realignments, but I don't think we gain necessarily anything from it being moved.
6 of one, half dozen the other. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, great. Thank you very much. Another commissioner had questions. Commissioner Goldberg.
I would like to compliment the commission for exhausting every bullet point that I have made throughout this discussion. And I would also like to compliment the neighborhood for being so engaged. We don't always have over 30 attendees at a neighborhood meeting back in November, or over 36 comments sent to Karen leading up to our meeting, and then we don't often have a full room as we did today. So I applaud your engagement, and I just want to be abundantly clear that we have heard every one of you. Most of us have written down your names, addressed your concerns one by one, but it's really challenging when the audience, those who are impacted the most, are here to tell us that this is a bad idea, but most of the research and the data and some of the just considerations of the big picture suggest that this project is a good fit. And so that's frustrating. I'm sure I would just say it's frustrating on every side that I'm sure of. The audience seemed to raise, and the residents seemed to raise concerns about traffic. This has been really hard for me to wrap my head around because I do think that this project before us will have a smaller impact on the traffic in the neighborhood than what we could see with a commercial development. And I do think that's better for the neighborhood. It's hard to get it, but I think we're doing better by the neighbors by having a residential, an apartment complex than what it could be. Compatibility, some studies, impact on schools. They'll be contributing to the HOA. Property value and loss of the views. These were some of the concerns that we had to tackle today, and I think we've hit most of them. I think what saddened me the most was when Mr. Fosnaw said, I'm heading back to Castle Rock. I regret coming out here. And so I wonder, where did that feeling stem from? And it seems to be that the neighbors are feeling tricked or sold on views or a development that may. I just wonder if it was a realistic or messaging that was being conveyed to the future homeowners, or is it, on the flip side, is it seeing an empty lot, it's been there empty for a long time, and just kind of quietly hoping that it always remains empty, and then being frustrated when the development does finally come, the development that is perfectly right and just for being there. It's frustrating. It's not what you bought, but it had potential to be there all along. In short, I think this project is the last thing about the views was the height. If this was a commercial project being built, they'd have a 40-foot height requirement. The project before us also has a 40-foot height requirement. So it's the views and the traffic, the two biggest issues we've heard today, are no different or perhaps improved based on what you were sold, if you will. So in short, I think this project is the same height, lower risk of traffic impact, and serving an unmet need in our town. Although, yes, there are lots of apartment complexes going up, we have evidence that suggests we need more. So with that, I just want to turn the floor back to the rest of the commission, unless I hear some compelling arguments. Otherwise, I'd be inclined to support this project.
Commissioner Poland.
I also second the statements that Commissioner Goldberg made, and he kind of hit some of the points that I was going to make. In looking at this, and I don't know where the fault lies with this, but going back to 2001, when they made the initial change to PUD, there was always the possibility for commercial. Now, maybe what some people understand as commercial is different than what other people understand as commercial. But Karen included the sheet of what is included and possible. One of those things that really stands out to me are hotels are possible in commercial. one of the things that stands out to me is that no matter what they put in there, it could have been up to 40 feet. So, as Commissioner Goldberg said, this is no worse than what could have been going in there. What somebody may have told other people was going to go in there, that's not our responsibility, unfortunately. What we have to do is take a look at the data that is presented to us as evidence. And the evidence suggests that, going back to 2001, this was always the possibility for that piece of land. The only change really is the fact that we have included apartments without a lower floor commercial. That's really the change. As I look at this, it does meet the needs. I noted some things in here. I do think, and I know the city tries to do this, it's a transition from county line, which is kind of a main road, to residential, and a lot of times we will buffer that with multifamily residences of some sort to give it a transition away from the main road, and you don't have single-family residences along the main road. They have increased the amount of open space for that area. I appreciate that. As Commissioner Goldberg noted, and has been testified that commercial tends to have more traffic than residential. I do also appreciate that the city has put on the caveat that they will not be issuing the occupancy rights until county line is resolved, until we do the changes to county line. I think that will go a long way to resolving some of the traffic concerns that the people were raising. So, as Commissioner Goldberg said, I'm the same thing. As of right now, I don't see anything that would prohibit me from approving this based on the testimony that was given to us today and based on our criteria that we have to review.
Commissioner Check.
I echo the feelings of the previous commissioner's comments. I do have one less inspired question for Tyler, though, just to close out one comment from a gentleman that I don't think was addressed. The intersection of Moonlight and 17th and Sundance, you had mentioned you might have traffic lights coming to East County Line Road in the next 3 years, depending on capacity. I was wondering if there was a capacity study on that intersection in particular.
Commissioner Check, 17th and Sundance/Moonlight is one that we have evaluated against warrants, and it currently doesn't meet any warrants, and it's far from meeting warrants on a volume basis.
Gotcha. So it's not as close as East County Line's intersections are. Correct. Got it. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Height.
Yeah, to echo my comments or to present my comments on this overall project, I live in Spring Gulch, which is bereft with the problems of 17th and County Line Road, and it is problematic, but change is coming. I think I also agree too that there seems to be an overwhelming amount of apartments that are being built, at least currently right now. But our city planners are people that are in charge of trying to figure out what our housing mix needs to look like, keep telling us that we're still 5,000 units short with all of the apartments that are going in. But what really captures this project for me is that a year ago, February of 2016, with notice to everybody, the PUD concept plan was modified to allow high-density housing apartments without commercial units on the first floor to go into this specific space. So I appreciate that people may have been sold high-end properties without having full disclosure by the realtors against the caveat emptor perspective, which is that this is a matter of public record, that these things could happen. I can't apologize for you having made that purchase, nor can I apologize for the fact that this applicant meets the standards, and I don't really have a basis to deny it. I think this project meets the standards, and that's what we require of applicants that come before us. Thanks.
I'll chime in. So Commissioner Height is getting to an excellent point, which is that we are tasked with determining whether this project meets our review criteria, and they are specific. And but in the bigger picture, I mean, the applicant is a private property owner coming and saying, I would like to do what I consider to be the best thing with my property. We have standards as to what homeowners can do with their property as well. And so very often we get comments from people saying, well, can't the city just turn this into a park? Well, the city doesn't own the land. The Brinkman Development Group does, and they have approached the city saying, we think what we want to do fits within your guidelines. The modifications they're asking for are actually just about the landscaping. And in that regard, their plans are quite solid in terms of modifying the landscaping in order to put more landscape buffer toward the residences, single-family homes. And they're also providing 50% more open space, which is actually planted open space. It's not, parking lots don't count as open space. So they are not only mitigating, as Commissioner Height got to with a line of questioning that he engaged in, but this can also be, in my opinion, viewed as what makes this PUD exceptional. Now, somebody in the audience said, well, this isn't exceptional. These aren't great buildings. Okay, I studied architecture. I could sit here and tell you that nothing in Longmont is exceptional architecture except Old Town and Downtown and a couple other slight exceptions. It gets back to a young lady's point that it's in the eye of the beholder. We don't have design criteria based on aesthetics. We have design criteria based on development criteria. And so the ways in which this development is exceptional is the fact that they've increased their open space significantly. They've added more parking. They've increased their landscaping planting plan. And the depth of the buffer, as Commissioner Height got to, is deeper than it needed to be. We often see plans come in that where the parking hits exactly to the letter how many spaces are needed. To provide an additional 17 spaces is actually exceptional in our realm. To provide 15% more open space, truly exceptional. So these are numbers and these are criteria which we're looking at that are outside of the aesthetic realm, because we can't judge based on the aesthetic because we don't have code for the aesthetic side of this project. So I would be in support of this as well, given all of that. But given I don't usually go at length about these sorts of issues, but given the depth of emotion that we heard tonight about this project and how it's upset people, which I think is also partly due to the fact that it sounds like they were told one thing by the developers who sold them their houses that did not actually match what the city knew to be true about this particular property, and that's unfortunate. So, further discussion. Any questions? Any motions? Commissioner Goldberg.
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and move with a recommendation for approval of PCR 20, I just had the number, 2017-21B. Now, B comes with 4 criteria laid out in our packet. I'll read them. All remaining comments and issues identified by the DRC during the review of both the preliminary plat and PUD development plan and final plat and PUD development plan be addressed prior to the approval of the final plat and PUD development plan. Number 2, the owners of the irrigation ditch that runs through the property approve of the new alignment and relocation of the ditch. The city approves of the new alignment relocation of the irrigation ditch that runs through the property as it pertains to the infrastructure, including roads and utilities. And finally, the applicant must install the NFPA-13 fire suppression sprinkler system in all of the apartment buildings.
Commissioner Poland.
I second.
Okay, a second from Commissioner Poland. Just to be clear, we are the final decision-making body on this issue. And are there any questions or further discussion? Let's take a vote. Okay, that passes unanimously 7-0. So this item now enters a 7-day appeal period. During this time, any aggrieved party may appeal the Commission's decision by submitting a written appeal letter stating why the Planning and Zoning Commission's decision should be amended or reversed by City Council. All appeals must be in writing and must be received in the City Clerk's office and the Planning Office within the 7-day appeal period. The appeal period begins Thursday, June 22 at 8 a.m. and ends Wednesday, June 28 at 5 p.m. Thank you to the applicants. Thank you to Senior Planner Bryant for her presentation to us and helping us through all of this. Thank you to all of the city staff who came tonight and stuck with us as well. Thank you to the public and the neighbors who came to share your thoughts with us as well. Very helpful. And we will move on with the rest of the agenda if I can get my screen to switch. Do you have an agenda? All right. Okay, number 7 on the agenda is the final call for the public invited to be heard. If anybody would like to speak about something that was not on tonight's agenda, we would welcome you to come forward and speak about that issue. Is there anybody wanting to come forward to talk about something not on the agenda? Not seeing anybody, we will close the public invited to be heard. Any items from the commission?
Yeah.
Commissioner Goldberg.
Yeah, I was just, Don, Principal Planner Don Burchett. There was several concerns raised about noticing today. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Bryan, I didn't see you still there. Of course, it's concerning for us to make decisions when we're pretty sure that everyone was notified, but we're not entirely sure. The biggest gap that seemed to be addressed today was these folks who are almost homeowners, the folks who are closing but don't quite have the keys. And I just wonder, is this such a small problem that we should not give it any more thought? Or are we seeing movement from other municipalities, or is there any consideration on how to make sure we get every last person that's going to be impacted by these decisions notified?
Chairman Chernak, Commissioner Goldberg, what I would, Karen and I had this discussion tonight before the meeting started, because, and I wish I would have thought about it a long time ago. I think it would have been helpful, is that we have in our section, in our notice section where we know that we have apartments, we notify the occupants. If I was looking back hindsight on this, I would have probably said, let's make sure that we just do it to the occupant of the addresses, even though they are under construction. That would have at least allowed us to get, if they had a mailbox, it would have at least allowed us to get a notice to whoever that occupant was. And we have the ability, the planning director has the ability to modify the notice requirements. So we could have included that if we would have thought about it. We've had this discussion before, those of you that have been on the commission for a long time. We have been getting more and more development that's been closer to existing homes that have been there for a long time and not seen any development, and now we're getting into the areas where new development is being built next to new development. And so this is just something that didn't come up for us to think about when we were putting together, the requirements for the notice. Our hope is that, and I think some of the neighbors expressed this point, was that some of them did find out in other ways. we do the best we can. We notify 3 different ways for a reason, because sometimes mail gets thrown away, whether it's my son who brings it in and leaves it out in the garage, and later I'm looking for something and there it is in a pile. So that happens. We get inundated sometimes with junk mail, and sometimes things accidentally get thrown away that maybe shouldn't have. But again, that's why we do the notices with the signs on the property. That's why we do the notices in the newspaper. And in addition, in this case, we also notified the HOA, which I think you heard a few people say that they heard from their HOA at a meeting that this was going forward. So we're not trying to hide this from anybody. The discussions, as we've talked about in the past here and at City Council, is that we believe the projects are better when we understand what the concerns are so that they can be addressed early on. We want those discussions to happen early on because we feel that that gives a better project. So hindsight again, if I was going to do it again and I was thinking of it, I would have said, let's just do occupants as well of those properties within the 1,000 feet just to confirm, and some people would have got double notices. And then we would have gotten yelled at because we sent 2 notices to certain properties and wasted tax dollars on postage. But the developer pays for those, so we don't pay for the postage.
So, Don, do you mind if I jump in on I see... Go
ahead.
I have the God mic, it stays on the whole time. I see Attorney Freeland kind of going, I don't know about the occupancy thing. It strikes me that there is a slight problem. This is different from an apartment in the fact that I could contract on purchasing the house. I'm not an occupant yet, but I'm contracted for it. You then notice me about the fact that apartments are going in, and then I realize that the real estate agent and the developer have been lying to me or misstating. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. And so then I pull out of the contract, and then I could see this opening up problems for the city from the developer's point of view of like, whoa, you're notifying people who are in contract. They're not an occupant, and it actually falls on them to go to the city to find out.
But again, we're not going to have, if I'm buying a house in Shadowgrass, I don't have the keys to any mailbox until I close.
Right.
I'm not an owner of record anywhere. The contract itself is not recorded at the county until you go and sign your papers for your deed. Mm-hmm. So by sending it, it's just like the junk mail that's coming in. If there is no place to put it, it's not going to be delivered. It's going to be returned to us undeliverable. So I don't feel like we're doing anything that is going to put us in jeopardy. And again, I've always heard people on Planning Commission and Council say more notice and opportunity for people to speak is better. The other thing that I think the Commission touched on is that, we are open 8 to 5 every day except on the holiday and on weekends. And people have the ability to call us and ask us, I'm looking at buying a property. What's going on in that vacant parcel next to me? I'm told it's open space. We can answer those questions. We can tell you what could be built there. Now, is it possible that somebody misread a plan wrong and said, well, it looks like it's all commercial development, so it's commercial, and didn't notice that the last few items down there were residential types that were multifamily, townhomes, single-family duplexes, and so on. That's possible. We're human, as we talked about before. But, we're here to answer questions. We can show you the comprehensive plan, show you where areas are that are outside of our growth area that are truly open space, show you areas that are planned for future development through our Envision document. So, it is very unfortunate when we get these concerns because we would like to help these people and give them that information early on. But unfortunately, sometimes people don't check on what's going on those vacant parcels before they buy or sign a contract.
Sure. Don, we discussed the 3 main ways of notifying folks, the direct mail, the posting at the site, and then the newspaper. Is it normal to get photos of the signs that are posted at the project location? And if it is normal to do that, can we have them readily available during a packet presentation or in the packet, or was it in my packet? And if not, is it something that we can like reveal to the audience who is expressing concerns about that?
So it is a requirement. Our affidavit requires that they provide a picture of it, and that has to be done. They have to certify that it met the posting requirements of the 14 days prior to the public hearing. The problem is that typically we don't get that because most people are doing it the last day that they can.
Sure.
And that's typically, we're not going to get it until it could be when the packet is basically being finalized, which means we could put those at your table for you. We could do that, and if we have them, we could include those in. If the commission would like those moving forward, we can include those in the packet. Again, typically, we knew that this was going to be an issue tonight, which is why Karen was able to get everything ready for this meeting so that when the question came up, she could hand that out to you so you could see it. If we know that there's going to be a question, we could just make a packet and place it at the dais for you so that you have it if we think that's something. And typically we know. I mean, we get contacted by people pretty regularly who will say something about the notice. We'll investigate, and if it is something that's a public hearing issue that we're pretty sure they're going to bring up, we prepare for it. One of the things we can do is we can make copies and have those available for you.
Yeah, I'm not looking to recreate the wheel, I think, but yeah, any ammunition we can have to stand by the hard work that you guys are doing would help us.
Another question about the posting actually on the site, because somebody said there were no signs, and I walk my dog every day. Do we require the applicant to validate that the signs are still there at the end of the period?
We don't. What I would say is that any time that I've ever been noticed by a neighbor that the signs are gone, I've contacted the applicant and let them know that they need to repost. You know, I myself come in 2 different ways to work every day that I come in. I either come in 66 or I come in 119, and I drive by projects just to see what's going on. If I notice something that I don't see a sign up, then I let the applicant know, or I let the planners know that I didn't see signs up for this project. And again, it happens. We know that people will go in sometimes and purposely take down signs that have been put up just so that they could raise that as an issue. I mean, I know of one project specifically in southwest Longmont where we had to have the property posted 4 times in order for the signs to kind of stay, because someone was purposely going in and pulling them out. So it happens. And again, when someone calls me and says, hey, I'm looking out there, that sign's not there again today, then I call people and I let them know they need to put it back up. And then 2 days later, I get another call. If that sign's not there, they're not doing it right. Well, I'll ask them to put another sign up. So we do what we can, but sometimes things do get knocked down, blown over. Sometimes people take them.
Okay. Commissioner Flake?
So I don't need to have a packet at my desk either, but it would have been nice to have had the photographs in the stuff that you passed around. And I was intrigued that the reason why I asked about the highlighting is because at least one of the people that raised the issue of not being contacted has a highlighted name.
And
so they've been contacted, and you can prove that.
They were notified. They were notified whether or not they received it in the mail or yes. I mean,
you can't make them do that.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Commissioner Cole?
I guess I would just comment for the rest of the commission. You know, I do this kind of work in front of multiple cities and counties all across Colorado, and this is not an uncommon issue. This is happening everywhere with this lack of being able to find people because the development is happening so fast. The assessors being, up to 6 months behind on getting everything recorded, so then your notification lists are out of date. So I commend the staff for picking up on that and, reaching out to Boulder County to do that piece for them. And I actually commend Boulder County for doing that. Like Weld won't, a lot of other counties won't take that liability and be the one creating the list. So I think the staff, did the right thing, and as much as possibly could be done in this situation.
Well, that's another good point about just the sheer timing of of like how long did it take Boulder County to create the list? I mean, weeks, months?
Yeah, it took them, I think the first one in January took them a month to do, and
Okay.
then I think the only reason we made the notice requirements for this meeting was because the applicant, realizing it took a month before, asked for it really early.
And so people tonight were thinking, well, I closed on my house 2 weeks before the notice went out. I should have gotten the notice. Well, no way. I mean, Boulder County would not have had them on record by then, because just to get your deed recorded takes longer than that. And then to just generate the list. So there's a lot of misunderstood timing issues, it seems. Sound fair, Don?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? Oh, our council rep is not here tonight, so we'll skip that part of the agenda. And just Don Burchett, principal planner. Any items from you?
I asked Joni tonight. She didn't have anything else for me to pass on. The only thing I would let you know is right now it looks like we're going to have 4 items in July. And I know that Brian is trying to also bring back some code items for you. So it would not surprise me that we're going to need to have 2 meetings in July. Okay. So just an FYI on that.
And then next week, June 28th. And then there's the one
next week as well.
And we're starting at 6 p.m., right, Jane? And we're not here, over there.
Yes.
Which for the TV audience means 385 Kinbark Street,
correct.
the Development Services office. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Seeing nobody opposed, we will adjourn.